Here's to the lucky ones, the survivors, the rescues. They're not Chihuahuas nor Shih Tzus. They're not beagles nor bulldogs. But they need just as much love and care and a good home. Some may have unknown histories, and most have troubled pasts. But what matters now is their future. So if you have the courage and the patience, the heart and the home, there is a rescue who needs you. Because when you adopt a rescue, you help change a life. And don't be surprised if that life turns out to be yours.
Oh,
Hello.
good evening, everyone. Hi, so welcome, everyone. Hopefully, we can see the comments. So, yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first webinar to celebrate the International Homeless Animals Day. Yep, so August 21 is known worldwide as International Homeless Animals Day. And to commemorate this day, Pawssion Project is currently conducting a week-long celebration from August 15 to 21. So, yep, for tonight, we're very excited to have you all join us for an insightful webinar on caring for community cats. So tonight's talk is the first of 5 webinars that the Pawssion Project family has prepared. And really for this week, yung main goal talaga ni Pawssion Project is to spread awareness on the reality of thousands of strays and to hopefully help educate people on what we can all do to become the voice of the voiceless. And
That's
I'm
right.
Ish. I'm a proud Pawssion Project volunteer, and I will be your moderator for tonight. I'm also very glad to be joined, of course, by our founder, Miss Malu Perez. So welcome, Malu. Yay! So welcome, everybody. So hopefully, yeah, just share your comments and you can see and say hi to everyone. Hi, Malu. Kamusta ka
Hi.
naman?
Wait lang. I have to tell everyone, Ish is really one of our very
Ala.
dedicated volunteers. And just so you know, Ish is actually in
Hi, in
Germany.
Germany. Hello. Yeah, so
So,
good evening, Jan. Good afternoon dito.
Ish mo na sila in German.
Wala. Magkikita ko in German. So, no, no.
Sige na.
So, guten Abend zusammen. Mein Name ist Ish. Willkommen, ja, zusammen. Yeah. Nag-German
No, but
naman. But,
I had to emphasize that because I want people to understand that, even if you're actually not in the Philippines, even if you're far from the shelter, pwede kayo mag-volunteer. Kasi yun nga, this is the perfect example. Ish, even sa Germany, siya very, very active volunteer talaga namin sa Pawssion. So, yun, I'm so excited. We're kicking off this week's daily webinar series. Ano yung pag-uusapan natin tonight, Ish?
so, i-share ko lang yung... So today we're going to be talking about caring for community cats. And yung topic na to, it's like the first of 5 webinars for the whole week. So if you've seen our post, we've been promoting it as our webinar series. So it's going to be like a daily webinar for everyone. And yeah, Malu, maybe ano ba yung theme talaga natin and ano yung overall goal natin for this week? And bakit ito yung mga pinili natin na topics?
Yeah, for International Homeless Animals Day celebration this year, we want to be able to run you down through the whole process of rescuing. Kasi 'di ba, Ish, alam na alam niyo 'yon. Yung inbox natin sumasabog every day sa mga nagpapa-rescue. So we want to be able to let everyone understand ano ba yung process ng pagre-rescue. It's more than just picking up a stray from the street. It's more than just feeding a stray dog or a stray cat. Sobrang tedious ng process, especially when you talk about, speaking up for the voiceless responsibly, rescuing responsibly, being a responsible pet owner. So as you can see yung series natin for the webinar this year, it starts with the community animals, the strays. And then, followed by, yun nga, di ba, what we usually do pag naawa tayo sa mga strays and all, rescuehin na natin sila. So, after we talk about caring for the community animals, we'll talk about responsible rescuing. And then, after we are able to understand what responsible rescuing is all about, we'll also be inviting some of the vets, some of our friends na mga vets, so that you'll also understand how it is in their life as a vet. And syempre, makakabigay din sila sa atin ng mga tips, di ba?
Yep.
And then after that, kasi again and again, responsible rescuing actually entails a lot of cost. Di ba kailangan pinapavet kasi yung mga rescues? So the vets will also talk about that. Once the animals have been rescued and nabigyan na sila ng rehabilitation ng vets, we have to focus on adoption. We cannot hoard. We cannot hoard the animals that we rescue. I mean, if you have all the means to support them, by all means, you keep them. But if hindi nyo sila kayang supportahan, then, let us all work together to find homes for them because they deserve it. So after the 4th webinar, which will talk about adoption and responsible pet ownership, the most exciting one, we will have a round table. This is yung sasabi natin, di ba, sa team, online rambulan na siguro to. Because we will be inviting very special guests and we'll also invite other fellow rescuers and rescue groups para ma-express yung mga hinaing, lahat ng mga struggles, lahat ng mga kailangan na tulong natin. So, it will be a very, very exciting week. So, I really hope that, all of our followers and all the animal lovers and advocates will be able to join us. Wala pong bibitaw kasi every topic is connected. So, please join us 7 p.m. every night. And I think, it's about time. Let's start the webinar already.
So thanks, Malu, for giving like a good overview of our webinar series talaga this week. And then, I also just wanted to share to everyone before we go into the serious part. We also have a special promo, like a special giveaway for tonight. So, we invite our viewers tonight to share this live to their friends, to their family, and also comment as much as possible, interact with us via this webinar. And really, for people who've shared our webinar to their friends tonight, we'll also be giving away like special prizes. So 100 pesos GCash. Gift from us. So please share this live and use our hashtag Pawssion IHAD 2021. So so please use it. And so really, I think we can start now with the the main part of our webinar. So I think we can start. So I think we can start by like sharing a quick question for you, Malu, and also for everyone who's attended our webinar. So what is really, ano ba talaga ang community cat? And ako din, for myself, like, actually, hindi rin ako super aware kung ano talaga ang community cat. And I've only seen it with activities through Pawssion. So, for you, Malu, what is a community cat?
Sige, I'll go first. Well, for me, actually, itong term na community cat, very, very important siya sa akin. And to be honest with everyone, I wasn't really a cat lover before. I used to be scared of cats. That's why, this topic tonight is very important to me because I really hope that more and more people mas maging accepting sa mga cats. And yun, as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't really a cat lover before. I wasn't a cat hater, but I hindi ako ganun ka-appreciative sa mga stray cats before compared dun sa mga stray dogs. But my love for cats actually started during the lockdown last year nung nagsistray feeding. Every day ako nagsistray feeding. And there's just so many cats everywhere. So many cats. Doon mo talaga marirealize na hindi talaga pwede na paano natin sila rehome lahat-lahat. It's just impossible to rehome them all because there's just too many of them. And yun nga, parang I imagine, ang ganda sana ng world. If we can just have them around, basta't safe lang sila, basta't kapon lang, yung makokontrol natin yung population. Ang ganda pakinggan ng term na community cat because it gives them a sense of belongingness. Kasi pag sinasabi mong stray, parang talagang outcast, parang you don't belong here. But when you say community cat, parang, yun nga, I mean, the term itself, they're part of the community. So, yun, we became a little bit more active with having to promote the acceptance of community cat when one of the when I think everyone's kind of aware already about this. Yun nga, like what happened in Tryon Towers. They were actually supposed to join us tonight. Yun nga, parang we understand that there are so many subdivisions, so many buildings na hindi masyado pang naiintindihan yung importance nga ng mga community cats. I know of a lot of establishments na they keep community cats kasi yun nga, pantaboy ng mga rats, mga rodents, and mga mga pangtaboy din ng mga new na mga cats. Yun, actually we'll talk more about the importance of community cats. Pero yun, Ish, I also wanna ask, I mean, there in Germany, how is it there? I mean, kumusta yung stray problem there?
I would say like sobrang completely walang stray problem sa Germany. And I think they take it very seriously here. So you don't rarely see any stray animals as in completely wala. And I think yung government kasi they take it very seriously.
Sana all.
Sana all nga talaga. To the point na I mean the feeling I get here in Germany is like sobrang daming gustong mag-adapt, sobrang daming gustong mag-help. But, I mean, wala ring, sobrang empty yung animal shelters. Everyone is responsible and minsan na yung initiative na ng mga animal shelters here sa Germany is na tumutulong na lang outside of the country. Kaya parang very, very inspiring talagang na they take it seriously and it comes from the government din kasi. Na parang,
alam mo na ang gagawin mo. Ilapit mo na yung Pawssion Project.
I hope. Yun yung go. So hopefully ma-promote natin kasi there's really a lot of supporters here and they really take this stray problem seriously. They require lahat ng pet owners to spay and neuter their pets. As in, pag hindi mo ni spay and neuter yung pet mo, ifa-fine ka. So like may mga ganun, yung mga little requirements na ganun, talagang I think it makes a difference. And
ayun. So sige, for you, Ish, what is a community cat?
So a community cat for me is, yun din, like natutunan ko lang din talaga siya with Pawssion Project's support with Tryon Towers. So that was the first time I've heard na ganun pala, na maganda. And after that, I started hearing stories of like small communities in the Philippines who are, yun nga, na parang gusto nila na mag-do more with the cats in their area. And for them, kasi ang alam lang nila is pakainin. And I think everyone knows na if you feed the cats, na parang okay na siya. Pero we start learning na hindi na enough yung
stray feeding.
Na lang sa kanila, yung stray feeding. Yeah. So, and I think yun din yung parang point talaga, or yung gusto nating matutunan with this webinar, di ba, Malu, is it's, if you feed them, fix them. So it's, that's what we're starting to learn slowly na hindi na enough na pinapakain natin yung sinistray feed. We have to do something further dun sa problem with our stray overpopulation. Yeah.
That's right. So again, everybody remember this. If you feed them, fix them. Sa government naman natin, kung may mga LGUs here na nakikinig, or if we have people who have resources, maybe you can tap yung mga nagpapakain. Ang dami actually, kung gusto niyo lang po ng kailangang tulungan, beneficiaries, message us here at Pawssion Project. We'll give you a long list of people who feed stray animals. So yun, I'm so excited
Yep,
to talk about community cats and what we can do pa to help them.
Okay, and I think na for this part, we can go to the next part of the webinar na rin. Kasi this whole fixing and ano ba talaga yung process, ano ba talaga yung tamang step to take to handle your community cats. Merong syempre may ibang team na we believe is more knowledgeable about the topic. So really for this part of the webinar, we have tapped a fellow advocate organization. If you've seen it, we've worked with them a lot of times already. They're called the Spay-Neuter-Inform Project. So this team, it's a citizen initiative that aims to neuter stray dogs and cats around Metro Manila. as well as educate people on such program. And we've invited them to give like to explain really ano ba talaga ang tamang way to handle our strays. And yep, so
Mhm.
before we pass the presentation to them, we'd like to show a short video to introduce the team. So yep. Yep. So I would like to formally welcome our first guest speaker, Miss Kira Locke of Spay-Neuter-Inform Project. So, wait,
Yay!
yung,
Hi.
Kira!
Hello.
oh,
Hi,
hi,
Malu.
Kira.
Hi, Ish. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if I'm on
Yeah,
mute.
we can be
Hi.
loud and
Okay.
clear.
Hi, nice to meet you guys. I am so thrilled to be part of this webinar. I mean, just seeing that video made me a little bit emotional because to be honest, our group has kind of come pretty far from our very humble beginnings, which I'll cover naman, but I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Of
Yep.
course, thank you. Share ko lang. Actually, I met Kira through one of her volunteers, Raven. She was supposed to co-host here with us, but technical difficulties. But still, thank you, Raven, for
Yep.
connecting me and Kira. Raven is actually one of those very passionate then, especially in terms of cats and making sure that she's able to really help solve the problem in the community. Hindi nga lang siya mag-e-end dun sa pagpapakain. And I remember last year, she celebrated her birthday by fixing like many of the strays that she feeds, and it was Kira who helped her nahulihin sila. And then Raven would always rave about Kira, how she is, how good she is pag-catch talaga ng mga strays. Because to be honest with you, hindi ako ganun kagaling maghuli ng pusa. Just because you're a rescuer doesn't mean that you're also good with catching cats, diba? So we're so happy. We're so happy to have you here tonight, and so that you can share about S.N.I.P and what we can do, and so many more. So take it away, Kira.
Okay,
So,
thank you, thank you. Ish, can you show our slides? So I'm just going to give a little background on Spay-Neuter-Inform Project, or S.N.I.P in short. So, Ish, next, sorry. Okay, so S.N.I.P actually officially began in 2019, March. That's when we launched it. But to be honest, the co-founders, me and my partner, were doing TNR long before that, um, way long before that. We only put up S.N.I.P because we realized the amount of cats and dogs that we wanted to help. And in order to do that, we needed to pool resources, which is why if we had a name, we can more easily, get in touch with people, gather donations, so that we can help more cats and strays in general. We usually operate around Metro Manila because that's where they're based, but we've gone as far as Antipolo, Laguna, even Baguio, just to help as many people as we can. So based on our name, Spay-Neuter-Inform Project, what we primarily do is spay-neuter in the form of TNR or TNVR, which I will define later. But it's basically spaying and neutering community cats and dogs. We also take the time to educate and empower people to do the same, because in the end, we're actually just ordinary citizens, and we want people to know that whatever we're doing, other people can do too if they find the heart for it, if they find the passion for it. And on the side, if we meet dozens of cats and dogs every month or so, we come across a few cats and dogs that are in need of rescuing and medical attention. And so we end up taking them home, rehabilitating them, and adopting them out. So those are the three main things that SNP does. Next. Thank you. So if we're gonna talk about community cats or community cats and dogs in general, I want to address a very real a reality that the Philippines is facing, which is the overpopulation of strays. So if you're here in the webinar, I'm assuming that you care about cats and dogs and the strays of our community, and I am absolutely sure that you've come across a pregnant cat or a pregnant dog, pregnant or nursing, or you already see they have a litter of puppies or kittens. And this is actually a very big problem because let's all admit the streets are no place for, very fragile creatures like kittens and puppies. And the reason we have so many kittens and puppies that grow up to be cats and dogs, which, populate an already populated area, is because the Philippines suffers from what we call a stray overpopulation problem. And that's a really big problem because we don't have the resources to feed or to take care of all these cats and dogs. And so we have to find a way to manage the population so that we can take care of them in the long term, so we can take care of them sustainably, right? So like what Ish said a while ago, or what was shown in a previous slide, if you feed them, fix them, because it's not enough to feed all these cats and dogs. There just isn't enough feeders if there's just too many cats and dogs. So next slide. So just to put some figures in it, actually, cats and dogs are very reproductively efficient, which means that when they're just a few months old, they can already start mating. And as we know, when dogs or cats give birth, it's not just to one child or to twins. Sometimes they can give birth to litters of up to 5 or 6 puppies or kitten. And if they also breed, over time you have tens of thousands of cats and dogs. And if you think about it, if we focus on feeding them, then they'll just be healthy enough to keep reproducing, right? So it's just an unending cycle, and we have to solve it at the root of the problem. I included a graphic picture of one of the rescue missions we came across. It was sorry if it's a bit graphic, but it's a litter of kittens that were called to our attention. They were a few days old, and right when we went there, we got down of the car, and someone who owns the car in the picture backed up into them without seeing them, just a few seconds before we could get them. We saw it before our own eyes, right? And only one of them made it out alive. You see, some of them are already crushed and hurt beyond repair. And the one cat that we were able to get from this litter was adopted out. He's happy and healthy, but the rest of his siblings, that's not a unique story. There's so many cats or dogs that are being run over, that are being abused on the streets, and we have to stop it. Ish, next. Okay, so right now, what the government is doing to solve the overpopulation problem is to impound and cull these poor creatures, which I think I don't have to explain is kind of inhumane. Actually, the way S.N.I.P started, me and my partner were actually volunteering in our city pound. And we were trying to, save as many cats and dogs as we could. And it was up to a point that we were already able to rehome around 200 dogs. We shipped them all over the Philippines. We found ways to rescue them. And the next week, we visited the pound, and it was just the cages were full again. And that was really a turning point for me. It's really devastating because pounds do not solve the problem. Shelters alone do not solve the problem. When cats and dogs reach the pounds, they have, according to the law, they only have a few days to live before they are either what do you call that? You can pay to get them back and out of the pound. Otherwise, they're really going to be euthanized. And my gosh, guys, the things that I've seen, pounds are not the solution. And right now, according to like a 2014, 2016 statistic, over 300 animals are impounded every year. That's one animal every 2 minutes. So if it's been 30 minutes in this webinar, then 15 animals have already been impounded, and they're doomed to a fate that's not really their fault. They're doomed to cruelty and death when we could solve it. So pounds, according to the law, they exist because we're trying to mitigate rabies, and that's a whole other big discussion that we can have. And while you can say it's effective because if dogs and cats are, where the rabies come from, and then you have them, called again and again, sure, you're mitigating rabies, but it's inhumane. And as Ish has pointed out, there are first world countries, developed countries such as Germany, such as Holland, such as the US, who have eradicated rabies by more humane means than just impounding and culling. So it is possible, and we're about to talk about how exactly we can make that possible. So I'm going to discuss what TNVR means. I think a lot of you already know what it means. It stands for trap, neuter or spay, and vaccinate, and then return. Okay, so every step in this process is very important. So here is one of our TNR events. You could see in the first picture, we trap them. So we find all the ways to trap them. We have cage traps wherein we leave them there with food inside, and then when the cat or dog comes in, they get trapped because there's a mechanism that locks it. But sometimes we try to coax them with food, and then we put them inside the cage. And we usually do this around, I think we started just 4 or 5 cats at a time, but now we do it 20 to 25 cats at a time. So we bring them all to a low-cost neuter vet, and then we have them neutered or spayed. And then after, vaccination is an option. It's definitely recommended. But let's say you're on a budget and you really want to help as many cats as possible, then maybe you could save the vaccination for another time. And then lastly, you return them specifically where you got them. Because if you return them in another place, cats are territorial creatures. And if they find themselves in a new environment, they're going to panic, or they're not going to be able to find their way around the place. And if there are existing cats, they're definitely going to defend their territory. So, what do you call that? Putting cats from a certain location in another location, relocating them is not going to do the cats any favor unless you take very specific steps to make it safe. And on the left picture, you can see that they give them a notch just to show that they're spay and neutered, because there have been times when the vet forgot to put a notch, and we trapped them again in the second batch, and they turned out to be spayed or neutered already. So notching is important as well. So Ish, next. Oh, sorry, can you go back? Okay. So sorry about that. So initially, TNR seems like a very taxing, thing to do, a very taxing project when you can just, call the pound, they'll take care of everything. But like I said, number one, it's inhumane. These cats and dogs, they are not pests. They have lives, and they also are part of the community. They also benefit the community. And so if there is another way that we can do it, and very good, pounds are not the solution. They really aren't, because they're, like I said, cats are territorial. While you have cats in a certain territory, they are going to protect that territory from outside cats. And the nature of cats and the nature of the overpopulation problem we have means that there always will be cats in the area, at least for the time being, okay? So the best way to solve the issue is to make sure that you have a managed stray cat colony in their area. That's why I'm so proud of certain groups like Cats of Ortigas, Cats of McKinley, Cats of Cubao, Cats of Ayala. There are so many cat org groups that take care of the cats in their community, not just by feeding them, but having a TNR program for their cats. And it ends up being sustainable because when you have a managed colony that's vaccinated, that's healthy, that's fed, you don't have to worry about other cats entering from outside. And imagine if all of us had these kinds of cat colonies that we're taking care of, we'll have a completely managed, non-increasing cat and dog stray colony that are healthy, that are vaccinated against rabies, and essentially you will be solving the problem right at the root because there will be no more overpopulation problem if all of them are spayed and neutered, right? So it's very cost effective compared to if you're going to keep culling them, you know, the 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 payment for the having to feed them in the pound and the euthanasia is like a burden on the government. And again, so long as they're not fixed, more cats will come in, more dogs will come in. So it's a cost effective solution and it solves it at the root of the problem, right? And I have to include here because a lot of people are they come to us with fear that cats, they're pests and stuff. But actually, if you think about it, cats, they're predators and their natural prey are the pests. We've had reports of subdivisions and commercial complexes who eradicated their cat colony because they didn't listen to our spiel that you have to have a TNR program instead, and they became overrun with cockroaches and rats, which, mind you, are actually the main carriers of rabies. So it really doesn't make sense. What you look at once you look at the statistics, and once you look at the all the villages and all the commercial complexes that we've helped, who have proven that TNR is actually the effective way to manage their stray colony. There's no other way. There's no other way to solve it. There's no other way to help these cats and to help your community than to do TNVR, right? So how can you participate in this? Ish, next slide. Okay. So, like I said, TNR is the kindest and most humane way to reduce the stray population. And there are many ways that you can participate, okay? Number one, you can donate to TNR projects, such as S.N.I.P. I mean, we do accept donations, and then we use it for TNRs in the areas that don't have groups taking care of them. So it's really the feral cats. Those are our targets. That's where we use our donations for. There are other TNR projects maybe in your local area that you could look into, and you can participate by donating or volunteering. Aside from that, spay and neuter is actually not that cheap in a lot of private clinics or even some public clinics. And we encourage you to approach the vet of your pet and encourage them to provide low-cost neutering if they can look into it, if they can see that there's a market for it and that it really helps the cause of animal welfare. Third, if you are already aware that spaying and neutering and TNR is the best way to go for your community cats, then educate, talk about it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the admins of your home administration in your village, tell the admins of, commercial complexes that because there are benefits to this, and when they try it out, they'll see how cost effective it is as well. And lastly, and I think most importantly, I encourage you guys to look into doing a TNR of your own, because groups like me or groups like Cats of BGC, etc., they can only do so much. It really takes a community effort in order for us to solve this problem. You can lobby to the government, that will also really help, but you can also do things in your own backyard. If you feed strays, if you feed them, fix them, and it doesn't have to be a big number. Even if you just do two or three at a time, the next speaker will tell you exactly about their experiences and challenges. But in the end, what I really want to say is, even S.N.I.P. started as just two people who wanted to help. We just wanted, we saw how devastating it was in the pounds, and we wanted to make a difference. And we just started with 4 or 5 cats, and it escalated from there. And if everyone can just make that effort, imagine how much impact we'd make. And so the next speaker is Kapon NCE, and I'm actually really proud of them because we've done a lot of trapping for them for numerous batches, and they are really a testament to how just by having a passion for these cats, you can do something great. And they took the right steps, and I hope that they'll be able to share with you all their tips and tricks to making TNR, viable for everyone. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira.
Thank you, Kira.
Sorry,
So,
naging medyo passionate ako
hindi,
kanina.
sobrang, I mean, me too. Sobrang dami ko rin talaga
About this
natututunan.
for years. I'm sure you can talk about this for hours and hours.
I can. Do I have more time?
May Q&A tayo mamaya. May Q&A tayo. But
May Q&A po tayo.
yeah, I was browsing through the comments earlier-ish. Sobrang daming magagandang comments. Sobrang daming mga suggestions. Also, I see so many people doing, may mga baby steps na sila na nagagawa. I am so happy. This makes me so happy to know that there's so many actually, doing something to help solve the overpopulation problem. And yeah, I have to emphasize talaga yung sinabi talaga ni Kira kanina. Kasi, Pawssion Project started because of pound rescues. And, not even, hindi naman ganun katagal before I realized that, rescuing is not the solution. So we've gotten so many reports from people. Well, actually, we still continue to get reports from people asking help and assistance dun sa pagre-rescue sa mga pounds. Again, guys, that's not the answer to the problem. It's just a band-aid solution. Ang dami ko din nakikitang mga comments na ang mahal ng kapon. Guys, you have no idea how expensive rescuing is. And responsible rescuing actually also involves pagkapon. Diba? So, TNVR, like what Kira said, is it's the most humane and it's actually cost efficient compared to rescuing. And yung sa mga pounds naman, kung nakikinig po kayo, utang na loob. Hindi po ba kayo napapagod sa kaka-impound, sa patay ng mga aso and mga pusa? And to be clear, actually, if you've reviewed the existing Animal Welfare Act and yung mga laws about impounding, hindi nga dapat kasama yung mga pusa eh. But reality is, there are pounds na nag-i-impound ng mga pusa. Dapat hindi nga kasama yung mga cats sa impounding. So, it's devastating. And like what Kira said, hindi talaga yon, it will never end. It's an endless cycle. You keep on impounding, but it will never really solve the problem. So, I'm sure sobrang dami pang mga tanong dito. Ang dami din mga hindi pa aware about TNVR actually in the country. Kahit nga spay-neuter lang, dami pang walang alam sa spay-neuter. But, Kira's sobrang ganda ng explanation ni Kira about TNVR. And, on behalf of Pawssion Project, we really want to congratulate you for such a job well done. Thank you for helping catch the thank you for helping us out with the Trying Community Cats.
Right.
We're very grateful.
Our pleasure. Actually, that's usually what we do. I think from the years that we've had a lot of inquiries, most people are very willing. Siguro one of the challenges is, let's say, budget, of course. That's why I said it's best if we can approach vets and encourage them to make it more budget friendly. But aside from that, a lot of people, they're very interested, but they're very scared to handle cats because, if you don't handle them well, of course, you might get hurt or the cat might also get hurt. So a lot of times when we step in to assist in a TNR project, it's usually for the catching. So we already we've invested in cages, we've invested in cage traps, in the catch poles, So
Mm-hmm.
that's really where we come in. And with that, that's why I said it's really a community effort. We don't have all the budget, but we have, let's say, the catching expertise and the equipment. So
And the willpower.
and the willpower. So I really love it when groups come together. If we come in for the catching and someone comes in for the sponsoring or the transpo, and then someone comes in for the coordination, it's really, I really emphasize it's a community effort, and
Effort
great
that
things can come out of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like this
Wait lang,
webinar.
before we transition to the next speaker, we have Q&A naman later, but para
Yeah.
lang hindi ko makalimutan. Maybe Kira, you can um give an overview kung magkano ba yung mga cages na binibili nyo, where can they get yung mga pang-catch na mga cages, and
Right, right.
have you had any na experience pa na nakagat ka ng mga pusa? Like, how do you actually do it? Kasi I think that's what everyone wants to know right now at this point. Sa dami ba naman ng sobrang insightful na mga na-share mo? For sure, tomorrow siguro baka meron na magta-try na mag-catch. But very important, if you can just emphasize kung ano yung pinaka starter pack mo and like how
Right,
much
right.
actually.
Okay. So that's a very good question, actually, how to actually go about it. And I guess the reason I didn't talk a lot about it yet is because it's really a case to case situation. But I'll try to give like an overview of what to expect, or at least what factors to consider. Okay. So usually when people approach us, what we do is we ask if the stray colony is being fed. Because if they're being fed, then most likely they are food motivated, which makes it easier to catch them. So let's say if the colony is not yet fed, we encourage having a feeding program for 1 to 2 weeks para masana yung mga pusa so that
Yeah.
they'll be easier to catch. So what does a feeding program entail? It entails feeding them at a specific place at a specific time every day, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you peg it at 6 p.m. in a parking lot, in a certain a vacant parking lot every day. In
Mhm.
1 to 2 weeks, for sure, cats will learn to expect food there, right?
Yeah.
Which means it's the best time to catch them right before their feeding time kasi gutom sila, and
Yeah.
right at that area kasi they will really flock there waiting for food. So really depends on what the cats are like. Maybe on trapping day we leave cage traps with food. So since gutom sila, they're always fed in the same place. They don't think twice and they just enter the cage traps and boom, they're caught. Right?
Do you
It
feed them
doesn't.
dry food, or what do you feed them?
You can feed them dry food, but if they
Yeah,
don't like it, then you can feed them wet food. But we always use wet food on catching day kasi
wet food.
mabango siya, right? It smells better.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
ideally you should try dry food first, yeah. Kasi dry food, let's say if they already like it, then they'll like wet food even more. And so they'll all the more they won't think of anything else such as the cage they're about to enter. Diba? So it's all
yeah.
about, making them. Hmm?
Yung pang trap na cage can you buy that or DIY ba yon?
Right. So actually, our cage traps, I can't take a picture right now. It's all the way in my garage, but
Yeah,
we
okay.
had it imported from China and we bought
Okay.
in bulk. So it's actually not that easy to procure.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually help with the procurement. However, there have been people whom we've turned away because we cannot guarantee that these cage traps are used for humane reasons,
That's
right?
right.
Like, we're
Right.
not just going to sell it to a pound who's going to use these traps to impound and cull these cats. No. So we don't encourage procuring them. We can definitely, just lend them out to you for you to
Mm-hmm.
use, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a catch pole, since cats are actually smart, so there are a number of cats who will be wary of the cage no matter how hungry they are, so that they don't enter. And so what we do is we feed them and then we sneak from behind. Actually, if you check our Facebook page, we have a video of us doing that and successfully catching
Okay.
the cat. So yeah, maybe I should
Okay.
have included it next time. But yeah, I
Yeah.
have to say that catching equipment is actually pretty expensive and it's hard to come by, which is why we've really taken the liberty. Sorry.
So people have an idea. How much is it? How much does it cost?
The cage trap costs about 2.5 to 3 per cage.
And then the pole.
The pole, I think we had it fabricated for around 1.5, but I
Okay.
think that can be fabricated elsewhere, but we don't know. We
Okay.
the place that we ask to fabricate, they don't really do it anymore, so I can't really say. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Anyway, ano, well, we can share siguro in the comment section later, like the video or photos from your page, kung ano yung itsura,
sure.
so people can check it out. But guys, you can also follow their Facebook page, so that you can
Yes,
see
please.
what they do. There's still so
Mhm.
many questions, but yeah, we can move on to that later during the Q&A. I see Doc Elsie. She's one of our volunteers, na human doctor, but she's very passionate about animals. She said that your webinar was so informative. Nag-take down notes pa nga daw siya.
Oh my gosh. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, I also
Okay,
want to
ayun, I
mention.
think,
Sorry, just one more
go
thing
ahead.
because on the topic of spay and neuter being expensive, um
Mhm.
there are actually a number of people whom have reported to us that they approached their city vet, and there are some cities whose city vet provide free spay and neuter so long as you pre-register. So I'm not sure which cities those are, but it's definitely, great to just call them up and check if they have such a program. Because
Always
I
worth a
mean,
try.
right, yeah. So whoever's watching the webinar, please take the time to call your city vet, and let's say if they don't have free or low cost Kapon, it would be great if you can encourage them to do so.
Yeah,
Because that would eliminate a huge challenge for people interested in Kapon. So
yeah. And also, if there are naman, kung aware na kayo na nag-offer yan ng city vet nyo, ng libre, maybe you can comment below
yeah,
that, di
yeah.
ba, ng mga tao,
Info sharing. Mm-mm.
collective effort na.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much, Kira. Super
Thank
duper.
you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having us. I'm
Kira.
gonna stay around. I'm gonna stick
Yeah,
around for the Q&A.
more questions
Yeah.
to answer later.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, thanks, Kira. So
Thank
later,
you.
yeah, later by the end of the webinar, magkakaroon po tayo ng question and answer. So if meron po kayong mga tanong about yung topic ng TNVR, yeah, please send po sa comments and make sure to share po our webinar today, and yeah, you get the chance to win po like a special prize from us. So yun, as Kira has said po, our next guest speaker for tonight is like another group po. So they're really a group who've done their own TNVR operations sa sarili po nilang subdivision. So sila rin po is like a small group of individuals na nag-volunteer na rin and nag-take na rin ng step to do this own operation po sa sarili nilang subdivision. And the team is called Kapon NCE Cats. So they are I think a couple, if I remember, who have done TNVR in their subdivision, and they have neutered and spayed almost 150 cats and extended help to strays in needs in their area. So I would like to officially welcome Joy later. But before we hand it over to her, magpapakita rin po ulit kami ng short video about their team. Ayan. So, hi. So, please welcome Joy from Kapon NCE Cats. So, I think, hi,
Hello.
Joy.
Hi,
Yeah,
Malu. Hi,
welcome.
Ish. Sorry ha. Correct ko lang, hindi kami
Yeah,
couple.
yun nga. Sorry, nagkamali ako.
Si Kira and
Sasabihin ko na. Mali, si Kira pala yung couple. Sorry, ginawa ko kayo couple ni Alden. I'm very sorry. Yeah, but Joy and Alden, I think they are friends. They're
yes,
part of
we're
the
neighbors. Yeah.
NCE subdivision who's doing this project. So, yep. Joy, maybe you can also give
Yeah.
like yeah, introduce yourself and also share your experience talaga. Yung sarili nyong experience sa paggawa ng TNVR sa subdivision
Yes.
nyo.
Thank
Yep.
you. First, I want to thank you guys for inviting us over. You know, it's very we appreciate the invite kasi at least we get to share our experience about the NVR sa mga viewers. So, yeah. First, yeah, thank you.
Sige.
Yes. Let me share about the brief history and background of Kapon NCE Cats. So, who are we? So, it's me and Alden. So, we're neighbors. We're actually friends. And then we have a volunteer. Nag-iisa lang siya, or transpo volunteer, Jodel. So, from the start, kasama na talaga namin siya. No? She's not from the same subdivision, but she always help us. So, we started in April 2018. Actually, before April 2018, already do our own TNVR. Siguro maghihiwalay kami ni Aldi, no? Kasi siguro early 2018 lang din naman kami nagkakilala through a certain rescue. May isang cat, just to give a kwento, no? May isang cat na pinost online for rescue. It turned out nasa labas yun ng subdivision namin. So, dalawa kami ni Aldi na nag-responde doon sa pusa. So, doon kami nagkakilala and we learned that we share the same passion. Aldin has a group of his own. Meron din naman ako, but we decided to join forces dito sa aming subdivision. So, we started our project in April 2018 dito sa aming subdivision in Quezon City, New Capital Estates 1. So, that's why we call it NCE. So what do we do? So we have a spay and neuter project para sa aming mga community cats. We like to call them community cats instead of stray cats. So yun, and dogs. So pero very onti pa lang yung dogs namin. So mostly community cats kasi yun yung madami dito sa village, no. So how did we start? So at first, like what Kira mentioned earlier, and you also Malu and Ish, no. So we started we feed the cats. We just feed them. Ako personally nag-iikot-ikot ako, nag-rounds ako, no, sa street namin, sa medyo malalapit na streets. And then ganun din sa Aldin. He feeds regularly dun sa street niya, sa mga kalapit niya na streets. And then we decided to do the actual TNVR. So meron na kaming mga ilang batches na, well, we do this monthly. That's our goal, na makapagdala kami sa clinic for TNVR every month. That's our goal. And then after a while, we decided to do a MOA, a Memorandum of Agreement with our Homeowners Association. Kasi we thought back then naku, baka mamaya mawalang how do you say it? Baka mamaya dumating yung time na hindi na nila suportahan yung TNVR project namin. So we said, sige, iporsige natin, let's do a MOA with the subdivision, with the board. So we had a MOA before our first anniversary. So it was signed and notarized in March 2019. And then what we also do is we also educate and encourage our neighbors. Medyo makulit kami ni Aldin sa mga kapitbahay. So meron kasi mga Facebook groups and group chats yung village namin. So, we always post there, ganyan. Tapos, we also join yung mga meetings ng mga board, mga HOA board namin, mga zone meeting. So, we join them para lang i-educate yung mga neighbors, para lang, magbibigay kami ng onting background on what we do. Tapos, we also ask them, we also tell them na if you like, kung meron kayo mga pets that you want to have fixed, pwede nyo kami kontakin and we'll help you. Like, pwede nyo silang isabay sa amin and all that. Just to share, because maybe many are wondering, no, what's in our MOA? What's in our Memorandum of Agreement? So, of course, madami naman siyang laman, but mostly it's on the TNVR. So, we said in our MOA na our group will do this, kung ano yung mga ginagawa namin. We will catch the cats, we will feed, we will bring them to the clinics for TNVR, and we will return them. Kasi nga TNVR. So, we will return them to where we got them. So, that's clear in the MOA. And it's also clear in the MOA, we also highlighted it na the part of the homeowners association, they will not allow anyone in the subdivision to have these cats and dogs impounded. So, parang yun talaga yung isa pa namin talaga highlight na let's be humane. We want a community that is humane. We want a harmonious community na, you know, the people, the residents and the animals can live together na matiwasay. So, how did we get the HOA agree to this mga itong MOA namin? So, of course, we discussed them all the benefits. Siyempre, meron din namang mga, well, there are pros and cons, but mostly, masasabi naman natin na mas madaming benefits yung TNVR, what we do. And also, one tip is we find a champion. Siyempre, madami yan eh. The board of directors, the board of HOA, madami sila. But not all, we know that not all will like our project. Marami dyan, ayaw sa cats. Well, mga ganong reason, or ayaw nung iba dyan kasi gusto nila, mas madali, ipapound na lang. But what we did was to find a champion. Naghanap kami ng you know, someone na talagang magpo-push din doon sa mga board members niya na, oh, let's support them. Sorry, Ish, I couldn't see the slide. Yes, yeah, that one. So, what made us do it? We had a vision. Me and Alden, we had a vision, no? And we thought that it is our mission to just do it. We wanted to help our community cats, and we envision a community, like I said earlier, we envision a community that is safe for both humans and animals. So, hindi lang naman tayo may karapatan mabuhay, but also the cats, no, and the dogs. So, another thing is we also want to contribute to controlling the pet overpopulation, no? Kasi this leads to animal cruelty. Ganun din eh, same like what Kira said earlier. Pag dumadami, all the more na dumadami yung mga strays, dyan na pumapasok yung cruelty to them. So, we want to contribute in our own little way. So, we decided kami ni Adi na, sige, gawin natin dito sa village. Diba? Hindi naman kailangan madami. Hindi naman kailangan sabay-sabay. But let's just start. It's one thing to start a project. So, sabi namin, let's just do it. So, yun. And we also wanted a more humane NCE1. So, we want our village to be humane. We want to instill these values to the children, to our neighbors, to the residents, na eventually, the more na nakikita nila kami na we feed, we do TNVR, na-encourage din sila to do the same. So, we did it with love, with commitment, and determination. Kasi hindi siya madali eh. Imagine, we do this every month. Dalawa lang kami ni Aldin, plus the help of Judel, and also our partners. So, my husband, well, he was my boyfriend pa before, and then also Aldin's partner and Judel's partner. So, sila, basically, 6 na tao lang kami na nagtutulong-tulong para dito sa project na to. And then, yeah, so we did it with love and commitment and determination. And we are proud to say that we did it with the support of our loved ones, our volunteers, our donors, no, mostly friends. The donors, at first, mostly friends, mga kilala, family, ganyan. And eventually, our neighbors and board of HOA. So, how do we do it monthly? Just to share, kasi baka may iba din na interested to know paano ba ginagawa yung TNVR sa isang subdivision, kasi I'm interested, ganyan. So, just to share, no, briefly, At first, to identify, sabihin na natin, sige, for the month of August, let's say, we will identify the possible date. So, sabihin namin, Adin, sige, let's do this on this date. Normally, it's Saturday or Sunday. Kasi we also have work. We also have our day job. So, sige, tapat natin ng Saturday o Sunday. Then, we will ask the availability of our transpo, Judel, and then of the clinic kasi kailangan si schedule din siya. And, of course, nung manpower, kung meron mang ibang gusto mag-volunteer. So, we first identify the date. And then, once we have the date, we advise our homeowners association board rep on the conduct of the TNVR for the month. Sabihin namin, meron po kaming schedule for the month like this, ganyan. Tapos, minsan, please spread the word, ganyan. So, okay na. And then, we will identify the cats. Sasabihin namin ni Aldin, saan tayong street ngayon, sino huhulihin natin, ganyan. So, i-identify namin kung sino yung mga huhulihin namin. So, when we started, ang talagang target muna namin, to be honest, because we don't have money, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough cages. So, talagang ang target namin, babae muna. Unahin natin yung mga babae kasi sila yung nanganganak eh. So, nung medyo naubos na yung mga babae, okay, kuhanin na rin natin yung mga lalaki. Or minsan, there are months na ang hirap manghuli ng babae, masyado silang mailap, alam na nila yung gagawin natin sa kanila. So, minsan, mas madaming lalaki. So, we identify the cats. And then, once we have this, plano na, we fundraise. Minsan, magpo-post kami sa Facebook page namin na, please help us, we plan to bring this much cats, ganyan. So, minsan, meron namang nag-help, minsan wala, but if wala, then okay, we'll just use our own resources or minsan tatawad kami sa clinic na huhulugan namin and all that because we don't have money. But we still push through with the plan of bringing the cats kahit walang pera. Basta tuloy. And then, we trap and bring to our party clinic on schedule. Sina Kira, they recently they started to help our group. So thank you to S.N.I.P for helping us catch the cats. Medyo guilty ako kasi since last year when I got pregnant, ganyan, hindi na ako pwedeng manghuli ng pusa kasi in-advise ako ng ubi ko, not because they are harmful to pregnant, no? Pero kasi pag nakagat ako, hindi ako pwede magpa-anti-rabies shot. So, I'm more careful noon last year until now na may baby ako kasi nga, for those reasons. So, yeah. Sina Kira and Butch, yeah, they're helping us to catch these cats. So, we trap and bring to our parting clinic on schedule and then, so, gagawin na sila sa clinic. Mostly, often, pwede silang umuwi ng hapon. Pag maaga sila nadala sa clinic, hapon makakauwi na sila. But if not, then the following day. So, after that, we still foster these cats. We foster them at least 3 to 5 days, depende sa kanilang situation. Like, the females, mas matagal sila than the males. Pag nakahuli kami ng buntis and ganyan, malaki yung sugat niya, so mas matagal. So, it depends. But we still foster them. Ngayon, nahihirapan pa ako because I'm a new mom to a human baby. Medyo hindi pa ako makapag-commit ulit sa pag-foster. Because dati, yan ang yan ang aking share. So, I foster before and after. But now, we have this place sa isang house ng relative na doon muna sila and then we have someone na nagpapakain, naglilinis, nagpapainom na medicine sa kanila for the foster period. And then, pag okay na sila, magaling na sila, and we think na pwede na silang i-return, so we do return, we release them to where we got them, to their original territory. And then the last step is we report to donors. We report to the HOA board in the village Facebook group and group chats. So, we document them, we share the story. First, because we're accountable to our donors. Dun sa pera na binigay nila, kung saan ba yun napunta, sinong mga nakinabang. And then, of course, to the HOA board because we promise them na we will report to them na, ito na po, ganito sa ganitong street, ganito po kadami napaka po namin ngayon, blah, blah, blah. And we also share sa mga Facebook group and group chats ng village namin for information of the other residents na hindi alam. And also, hoping na ma-encourage namin sila to do the same or to help us or ma-encourage man lang namin sila na to have their pets, kahit yung pets na lang nila, to have their pets spayed or neutered. So, how are we now? How are you doing now? So I haven't shared, no, but when Alden and I started in April 2018, we started with just 2 cats. Yun yung nasa picture namin kanina. So, tag-isa lang kami ng pusa. Tag-isa kami ng carrier. Bit namin yon. Wala kaming transpo. I think we rode the Grab. So, buti naman mabait si Grab driver. Pumayag siya, may dala kaming pusa. We said na malinis yon and all, ganyan. So, kinalong namin ng mga pusa para, of course, we don't want them to put at the back of the car. So, yun, nagsimula kami ni Alden with just 2 cats. I still remember them. Their names are Purple and Red. Binasi na lang namin sa color nila. So, that's Purple and Red na ngayon ay na-adopt na rin ng cousin ko. So, yeah, we started with just 2 cats. And then now, as I speak, no, we have already benefited around 150 cats. And 2 dogs. Very specific, no? Unti lang kasi yung stray dogs dito sa amin. So, those 2 dogs, napa-adopt na rin namin sila. We also do some rescues na mga community cats namin kapag kinakailangan. Like, may sakit, ganyan, may magre-report sa amin. Because it's also part of our MOA na pag mayroong animal-related concerns in the village, they don't call the pound, they call us. So, pag merong kailangan ng tulong, we respond to them, we help them, and ganun din yung mga kapitbahay namin if they need, like, magtatanong sila, may sakit yung maalaga nila, or kailangan nila ng vet, so we will refer, and all that. What else? So, we still operate despite the pandemic. So, hindi naman kami nag-stop, pero medyo na-delay lang. So, yung target namin na monthly, minsan may months na wala. Especially now, like ECQ, stop kami kasi, well, it's ECQ. We also feed in our areas pa rin. Ako, while hindi na ako nakakaikot ngayon sa street kasi I'm being very careful now because I have a infant pa. But I still feed dito sa labas ng bahay namin. Also, dun sa aming kabilang bahay. So, ganun din sa Alden, he still feeds in his area. And happy naman kami na we also have neighbors who feed and help us sa mga community cats. What else? We also continue to educate and encourage our neighbors and other people as well through our FB page. So, sabi namin, hindi man namin maabot lahat ng mga lugar, but we try to help people who are interested in TNVR as much as possible. Like, marami kaming inquiries na tatanggap saan po yung mga low-cost spay-neuter clinics, ganyan. So, we tatanungin namin saan po ang location nila. So, we refer them to this low-cost spay-neuter clinics. But, next slide, please, Ish. Despite these small wins, of course, we have challenges that we continue to face, like insufficient manpower. Like I said, ako lang, si Aldin, then our volunteer Jodel. Tapos, minsan hinihiram-hiram namin yung aming mga partners na tulungan kami. So, kulang na kulang talaga yung manpower namin. Kaya hindi pa namin makover yung entire village. So, mayroon pang mga streets, but we try our best. Thankful again to S.N.I.P for helping us dahil malaking tulong sila kasi hindi namin dahil like what Kira said, no, it started with feeding eh. Pag pinifeed mo yung cats, makukuha mo yung loob nila, they will trust you, and then that's when you can trap them or catch them. Eh, dahil dalawa lang kami ni Aldin, may mga areas na hindi naman talaga kami napapakain, to be honest. Malaking help si Kira kasi expert sila, that's their expertise, no, to catch these community cats. And then we also continue to face the challenge sa transportation because we only have one transport volunteer. Well, meron kaming sub minsan din, no. Just one, so dalawa sila. But for Judel, it's very difficult nowadays kasi she lives in Bulacan pa. So imagine, pupunta siya ng QC, dadala sa clinic, babalik sa amin, sa hapon, iuwi. So, and especially now that it's pandemic, medyo mahirap. May mga checkpoint. And also, financial support. Earlier, I mentioned, we have a MOA. The cost of TNVR, it's specifically stated in the MOA that the board will not pay for anything. The entire cost of the TNVR is on us. So, bahala na kami kung saan namin yun kukuhain. Kung walang mag-help sa amin for the month, then we pay the vet on using our own resources. But that's okay. Mabait naman din ng aming partner vets po. Payag sila na hulog-hulugan pag wala kaming, pera. And of course, we still continue to face the challenge of having unsupportive neighbors, yung mga nagre-reklamo na ang dami-daming pusa dito, ganyan, nisa-scratch yung kotse ko, ganyan, inaakyatan yung bubong ng kotse ko, ganyan, blah, 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 blah. So, hindi namin yun maaalis, but good thing is that, well, to share with you guys, no, we experienced this neighbor, ganun. Talagang gusto niya, pound, pound, pound. But, thankful that we have the MOA. Our board of the homeowners association, the board of directors, sabi nila we have a MOA with them, so we cannot call the pound. And even though we don't have a MOA, still ayaw din nila because they know that it's very inhumane to call the pound, no? Kasi syempre pagkuha nga nila dun sa mga pusa, kukuhain nila yon. And in 3 days they will just kill them kung wala mag-aampon. So it's very inhumane. So ayaw din yun ng aming board of directors. So, very thankful to them for supporting us, no, na no to pound. Next slide, please. Okay. So, to end, yun, dahil na-share ko na ang aming experience on TNVR, na aming maliit na grupo, I just want to share with you our Facebook page, no, Kapon NCE Cats. In case you want to ask us or if there's anything we can help you with, like if you need some kunyari interested kayo to do TNVR in your area, in your community, please message us. Huwag kayong mahiya. Please feel free to ask us questions or send us messages. Sasagot kami, either me or Aldin. So, magpapakilala na lang kami kung sino ang sasagot. The Facebook page, hindi siya updated. It's my responsibility, no, na i-post dyan lahat ng mga batches namin. It's on my personal Facebook, but it's not yet uploaded in our page. So yun, I also want to end my sharing note with this quote. Compassion for animals is intimately connected with the goodness of character. It may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. So, lagi-lagi namin to pinupost sa kung saan-saan because I think totoo siya. Well, not I think, no, but it is true. Kung if you're cruel to the animals, then you're not a good person. So, but I just want to close my talk, my sharing, no, with this. I hope na-inspire ko kayo with our story, with our experience. So, hopefully, madami pa pong mag-conduct ng kanilang mga munting TNVR sa kanilang areas. Let's just start. Let's not aim agad for a lot of cats na, gawin natin 20, ganyan. Wag. It's okay. 1, 2, 3, it's okay. As long as you start it. It's very important you start it. So, there. So, thank you for listening.
Yep. Hi, si Malu nawala. Hi, Joy. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Sobrang informative talaga.
Yeah, and I think for me, then yung talagang key learning ko talaga from this is, I mean, we can all do something. Talaga na minsan kailangan mo lang talagang magsimula and magagawa mo, and hindi mo naman kailangan gawin siya ng 20 cats agad, 'di ba? Pwede ka magsimula ng isang pusa muna or dalawa. And then, I mean, marami siyang challenges, pero yung magandang learning talaga is like anyone can do something with the problem. And I think for the third part and the final part of yung webinar is like a quick question and answer portion. Si Kira, from S.N.I.P, inaantay lang namin siya bumalik. Ayan siya.
No, while waiting for Kira, before I forget this, I'm sure so many of those watching now also has this question in their head. Joy, nasan ka ba nakatira? Saan ka nakatira? Baka may mga na bahay. Kami dyan.
Dito kami sa Commonwealth. Anong Commonwealth? So maybe going to Pawssion Project, madadaanan tong village namin. No? It's New Capital Estates 1.
Pala tayo eh.
Saan ka ba, Don Antonio?
Yes.
Oh yeah, yon. Sa tapat lang kami, right after Evergotesco. So talagang pinaglaban namin ni Aldin to na kailangan magkaroon tayo ng TNVR dito sa subdivision. Kahit dalawa lang tayo, let's do this. Maswerte kami kasi we have a lot of neighbors. Even the president of our HOA is a cat lover. She feeds community cats doon sa kanilang street. So, maswerte kami dahil marami kaming kakampi dito. Like, madaming nakaka-appreciate ng TNVR. Marami ring tumatawag sa amin or kumakatok sa gate ko, like sa gate namin, sa gate nila Aldin, asking kung may schedule na po ba yung nyo, kapon nyo. So, alam mo yun, medyo masaya naman kami dahil while merong mga neighbors na ayaw because for them, mas madami yung sumusuporta and marami rin kaming neighbors na nag-feed. So, sila kung hanggang feed lang, okay lang. Sinasabi namin sa kanila, sige, it's the start. Just tell us kung saan namin huhulihin. Yes, sina Kira, they help us eh. So, ganun yung, like, meron akong neighbor, kilala ko siya. Sabi niya, dito sa garage namin, we have 3 cats pumupunta, finifeed namin. O sige, hulihin mo, kami magdadala sa clinic. So, ganun lang, like, tulungan lang talaga siya.
Collective effort nga.
Yes, nagulat. To be honest, nagulat kami ni Aldin na nakaka 150 cats na kami. I know it's not a lot. 150 lang yun. Pero given na dadalawa lang kami, talagang sabi, wow, ang dami na rin pala. And out of the 150 cats, we try to rehome din naman. Especially those cats na alam mong adoptable talaga. And meron din yung mga young na kittens, yung mga young adults. Yun, medyo madami na din kaming na-rehome. So, we also try to rehome them kasi syempre, mas okay pa din pag nasa loob sila ng isang bahay. But if we cannot, then okay lang. Basta safe sila and hindi sila dadami. So,
yeah, no, but I have to emphasize that kasi sabi ni Joy, 100 plus lang daw. No, that's not 100 plus. 100 plus times the number of unwanted litters kung hindi sila nakapon. So, that's still thousands. Kaya gusto ko talaga i-emphasize yun na no, wag kayong sabihin lang 1, 2 lang kaya namin. No, multiply that to the number of unwanted litters kung hindi sila nakapon. That's a lot of contribution talaga to the community. But, Joy, can we acknowledge your homeowners association? Sobrang konti lang yung ganyan. Can we at least acknowledge them and maybe, inspire other homeowners association to do the same? And siguro reminder na lang din to everyone, no? Like if you want a kind community to animals, then remember to elect also mga homeowners na officers that are open to the idea of, propagating programs like this to the community animals. So sige, Joy, you maybe wanna acknowledge your homeowners association.
Yes. I'd like to thank our homeowners association, the New Capital Estates 1 Association, the board of directors, actually our MOA, sa last set of officers pa siya. But, thankful to the new set of officers, sabi nila, the MOA still applies. So, bakit tatanggalin ng MOA? It's a good MOA. The purpose and the reason of the agreement is helpful. So, why demolish it? So, kahit na hindi yun sa kanila nagsimula, they still acknowledge the So, yun, maraming salamat sa aming OWA Board of Directors.
Yeah.
And sorry, just to share.
Go.
Salamat din doon, to acknowledge, salamat din doon sa aming champion. I'm sure Malu knows this kasi sa government ganun, if you have a law na you want to be passed, hanap ka ng champion mo, siya yung magpupush doon sa mga ibang kongresista and all that, senators. Hanap ka ng champion. So, gusto ko lang magpasalamat din sa champion namin na talagang tumulong sa amin na
the name so that we can
thank you to Josh Palma. No? So, siya talaga yung kakampi namin na talagang, Josh, ito talaga yung mga benefits. Ito talaga yung maitutulong yan sa community natin. So, sana naman ma-encourage mo yung ibang mga officers no, na to like this MOA, to like this project, to support this, sabi namin. And, thankful yan. I'm very grateful to him na talagang tinulungan niya kami.
Ayun. Very important, the MOA. Yun na yung siguro bukas magsistart na yung mga tao dito na padalaman. Yun yung panlaban, di ba? I clearly remember what Joy said na yun, di ba? If the other neighbors are not okay with it, then the board of directors will say, but we have an existing MOA. Di ba? I mean, it parang ang dali lang makat ng conversation. We have the MOA di ba? So, yeah, again, maybe we guys can work together on
Yeah.
pulling together our ideas and then makashare tayo. We can come up with a kit siguro for those who want to start this program sa community nila. And then we can guide people on what they can write on the MOA. I can see so many comments, people wanting to do that already. And that's a really good, very, very overwhelming actually, the comments. So happy na everyone's very engaged tonight. So maybe we can work on that more and then we can share it with everyone. Like people can coordinate with Pawssion, with Kapon NCE, with S.N.I.P, and then we can guide them kung paano nila gawin yun. So ayun, sige, let's proceed now with the Q&A.
Yep. So thank you.
Sorry, Malu, isa na lang. By the way, if you do a MOA, please remember to have it notarized.
Notarized, I know.
Because if not, walang visa.
Walang po.
So please don't forget na that's also important to have it notarized and then you give a copy to the other party. Kasi if wala silang kopya, then like any other contract, it's not valid. So
yeah.
So yun lang.
Okay, thank you for emphasizing
Thanks,
that.
Joy. Yeah,
Okay,
I
go
think, sige, ayun din, nakita namin sobrang daming magandang tanong ngayon sa comments. So,
Yeah.
bili siguro tayo ng mga 5 siguro or 4.
I think, I think people have time pa naman tonight. This is so informative. So,
I think,
our guest speakers have time, and if this will help naman inspire more people to do something, then guys, if you have time pa naman, maybe if you don't mind, if we can extend a little bit longer and address the questions. Let's start with a question from Kay. She's actually one of our volunteers. And yun, very cat person talaga. So Kay's question is, hi Kira and Joy. How to safely tell if the cat is healthy enough to be spayed and neutered? And then she says, thank you for this very informative webinar. Who wants to answer?
Okay. So actually, a lot of Kapon clinics, they usually highly encourage to have they do a physical test, of course. Physical exam to see if they are, outright healthy. Of course, if they're sniffling or if they're limping, then outright, no, they're not ready for Kapon. But aside from the physical exam, they heavily encourage to do a blood test, right? The full workup, blood chem plus CBC. And personally, we don't always do this, right? Because we're on a budget constraint, right? But we heavily encourage you to do it if you have the budget for it. So it really depends on if you want to be extra sure or if you want to spay and neuter as many cats as possible. It's really up to you. I will admit that we have had cats that we lost apparently because during surgery when they opened the poor cat up, they found out that very anemic or like lots of parasites, etc. And there's really no way to know unless you get them tested. So again, it's up to you. If it's TNR, usually we just have a physical exam and then go for it because the mortality rate is very low. But if you can afford it and if you're willing to do it, go ahead and have all tests. Get them dewormed first. Get them, nice and chunky first. Yeah, but there is no very strict rule of thumb. It depends on you.
Yeah. How about you, Joy?
For us, siguro it's quite easy for us to identify. Kasi that's what we do first. We identify, ito yung mga cats for the month. So, alam na namin na ito, we feed this So, we feed yung mga cats na to and we see them regularly. So, alam namin like if they have sipon or kaya ampayat. So, yung mga ganun like, ay, ampayat nito, wag muna, patabain muna natin. Pakainin pa natin siya and all that. So, but like Kira said, you can never, like, there's no way to know except through blood test talaga. And like Kira, Ganun din, already lost, a number of cats na, well, nakakauwi pa naman sila after the surgery, but after some days, parang hindi nila siguro kinakaya and all that. But, yes, siguro, if you have the means and resources, then, yun nga, blood test talaga ang, to know if the cat is really healthy. For the cats na merong owners, like kunyari yung mga sa neighbors namin, we tell them the risk. Sabi namin, there are always a risk. There's always a risk eh. Kasi syempre, anesthesia yan. So, there's a chance na hindi magising or what. But, it's up to them, of course, kung may budget sila or what. Kung wala, and then, kung okay naman sila to have their pets fixed. Then,
Yeah.
But I have to add that the mortality rate really isn't maybe as high as people would think. Because when you think surgery, you think, oh my gosh, they're opening them up. There's a really big chance they're going to die. There's always that chance. However, I honestly can't count how many hundreds of cats and dogs we've spayed and neutered. And I can only count on one hand, at most two hands, how many have actually not made it through the surgery. So, and to think those are cats that are not necessarily in cat colonies that are being fed. These are, strictly stray cats that we get straight from the street, right? So long as you go to a reputable, low cost clinic or any vet clinic, then you should be generally fine.
Yeah. So yeah, just to add, and that actually applies not just to cats, to dogs then. So and that's why we encourage you start with stray feeding. At least 2 weeks na stray feeding. Kasi ma-observe mo naman makikita mo naman kung matamlay yung pusa. Or, di ba, things like that. Kaya tama yun na at least physical exam will do. But if it's like a new cat sa'yo and notice ka na medyo unusual na behavior, it's best really to have it checked by the vet first. Kasi yun, yung mga silent killers din yung low platelet, yun kung if anemic sila, if may mga blood parasites or madaming worms. So those can be factors actually. Kaya I understand people who are worried about yung di bang ipapaspay and neuter na lang. Usually, it's not the surgery that kills them, but it's the pre-existing condition. So, that's why it's very, very important na you get to know first at yung mga candidates niya for TNVR. Hindi pwede nakakakita mo lang sa kanila, kukunin mo na, tapos papakapon mo na, and you release. Yun, it takes patience. And I want people to understand that. And that's why we're in awe of what you do. Because, it's not an overnight thing. You have to feed them again and again. Get to know them and observe them. So, yun. Sige, maybe we can pick another question. Ayun, wait, sige, let's read this one first from Sir Hill Alonzo. Also, Ish just stepped out for a while. Again, everybody, we all have regular jobs here. So, she'll be back in a few. Anyway, this is what Sir Hill said. I know some people who are opposed to neutering or spaying because they experienced losing their pets because of infections that came about from the surgery. How can community stray animals be kept safe if they do not have owners that will look after them closely and give their medication after the procedure? I think sobrang dami mga comments in here concerning about post-op. So, yeah, Kira, you want to answer, and then we can hear from Joy after.
So, like what Malu said, this is not a one-night thing. It takes weeks of planning to make sure that they'll be in the trapping area at the beginning when we trap them, and then they're going to be brought to the vet for the surgery, and then when they come back, we actually keep them for a few days, up to 1 to 2 weeks. So because we have to ensure that there's no post-operative infections or complications. Males, when they are neutered, it's actually a very minor procedure. So usually after a few days, we release them already because they hardly show ever any signs of infection or complication. But for the females, especially if it's spay abort, then we usually do keep them for a longer period of time, which is why we used to be very transparent about our donation to neutered cat ratio, but we realized that it doesn't just cost for the procedure. It also costs to clean the cages before and after. It costs feeding. It costs medication. And so these are things that you also have to assure when you do your own TNR. So for example, when people approach us asking us for help in their TNR, one of the many questions we ask, aside from if there's already a feeding program, etc., is if they have a place to keep them for a few days in order for them to recuperate so that the neuter and spay will be successful, right? So you definitely have to be able to medicate them. There are injectable antibiotics that you can take, but you also have to, of course, monitor them. You have to reduce their stress levels because when they're stressed, they usually are more prone to getting complications after. So that entails, I don't know, just talking to them or putting them in a safe area. These are all things that come with a TNR. And so personally, when we do TNRs, we make sure that that's part of the package, the TNR package. And I think Joy can testify to that. I think you guys have a house, right, that kind of like fosters them for a bit.
Yes. In our case, before, like may kwento kanina, no? Before I got pregnant last year, I used to foster the cats a day before and a week after, like pre and post-op, nasa akin yung mga cats. So, huliin na namin yan ni Aldin gabi. But after the surgery, before, I used to foster them. So, like, sabi ni Kira, the males, mas maaga namin sila. We release them earlier kasi nga the sugat is very small, like talagang parang less than an inch. But for the females, we keep them at least 3 days. Depends on the situation or the condition of the cat. So, meron kasing iba na mas matagal mag-recuperate, may iba mabilis, may iba ayaw na nila sa cage, they just want to go out. So, but we make sure na the cats are given the injectable antibiotics that last for maybe 2 to 3 days para at least kahit paano meron silang protection from infection. No? But if we can still keep them in the cage, finifeed pa rin namin sila, and then we put lang the medicines sa food para ma-take nila because some cats are not friendly para mapainom namin directly, no? Also, like kunento ni Kira, now na I cannot foster anymore for hindi ko na kaya ng katawang lupa ko. But our other house, meron kami, same village, no? Meron doon parang kubo. So, we put them there, the cats, after the surgery. So, pagka-uwi ng vet, diretso sila doon. So, doon sila pino-foster. And then, we have someone na tumutulong sa amin na mag-feed and maggamot sa kanila. Also, to clean the cages. Si Ate Ria, no, we pay her, no, we give her allowance. Ganun na lang since we cannot do it ourselves kasi syempre si Aldin, he also have work, ako din, ganyan. Tapos kulang talaga sa manpower. So we just pay Ate Ria to do the monitoring sa. So magre-report siya sa amin. May cat po dito ganyan ayaw kumain or may cat dito nagwawala na siya, gusto na talagang lumabas. So that's how we ensure na magaling na sila before we return them to their territory.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, just to summarize what Joy and Kira said, you have to catch them parang like before the surgery kasi dapat hindi sila kumakain eh. Remind lang everybody yung first timers to do this. Very important kasi kailangan na mag-fasting muna yung mga cats na ipapakapon ninyo. So that's why Joy said na they already catch them like day or night before the neuter and spay operation and they keep them for like 3 days to 2 weeks the most. It's always a case-to-case basis. And lalo na pag female. Yun nga, yung mga lalaki, sobrang liit lang kasi ng cut. So, sometimes after 3-4 days, pwede na actually yan pakawalan. Lalo na if what you gave them is an injectable kind of antibiotics kasi mas matagal. So, again, everybody, I hope you understand na grabe yung commitment na kailangan sa TNVR. Yung mga gustong mag-TNVR sa mga communities nila, it's not as easy as just catching them, having them spayed and neutered, and releasing them. Grabe yung commitment dito talaga. Kasi yun nga, yung post-op, yung post-surgery talaga, kailangan mabigyan sila ng mga gamot. And you have to make sure nga na okay yung mga minsan, not the vets are not perfect naman. So meron iba minsan na may mga complications din naman after, or like na bumubuka or whatever. Kaya very important that you have to monitor them closely, lalo na female na mga cats. So you keep them first before you release them. Okay, sige, I also saw here, ito mga, I think madaming itong concern na to. May mga nagtatanong, sige, wait, let's this one na lang muna. From Eunice, I just want to ask, what would be the consequence of having pets, cockroaches and rats, again, in the area if all the community cats there are all fixed already as they could not reproduce anymore? Kira, you want to answer this?
Okay, so that's a rather tricky question, right? Because the reason we're advocating for having community cats, keeping them in the area is, there's the benefit of keeping pests at bay, actual pests such as cockroaches and rodents. At the same time, we want to manage the population so that they don't increase. Here's where it's no longer a paradox. It's the reality that we will never be able to completely eliminate the increase of cats. So no matter how hard we try to spay and neuter them, there will always be some cats somewhere, especially in a developing country like ours, that will end up increasing. So that's why we have to just do our absolute best to reach that level, because the cats are gonna reach that level as well, right? So for that question, I don't think that you will ever have a problem of the cats actually being completely eradicated because they're all spayed and neutered. We're a very long way off from that. And I think in how many decades, once we reach that point, we will also find ways to be able to keep pests at bay without the need for these cats, right? So because that's for sure, if we can manage to manage the stray community, stray population to that extent, then we'll find a way to keep pests at bay without them. That's something that makes complete sense to me. Yeah. Is there anything you want
Yeah.
to
And
add, Joy?
I remember kanina, Kira, you said na tested and proven talaga dun sa mga ginawa niyo ng VR ng mga communities and lahat ng mga areas. Can you name a few, if ever?
Okay. We've done for there's, I don't know what you call it. It's a subdivision. It's called Isaiah Premier in San Juan. We've also helped out. My gosh, wait, there's so many. Okay, one of the largest ones we did was we helped out in UP Diliman. So they had a target of 1,000 cats and dogs. And I don't know the percentage we were supposed to reach because we were brought in for the catching, and that was literally weeks long of TNR, consistent TNR to reach 1,000, right? So UP Diliman has a solid TNR program, as does Ateneo and LaSalle. So my feel is that, educated communities can understand the long-term benefits of TNR, which is why they have a solid TNR feeding stray management program, right?
That was fun by students and teachers.
It was funded by the government. Yeah, the chancellor of the community affairs. Yes, they were able to get funding for it. And I think they're going to do another batch because UP Diliman is actually really huge, right? 1,000 isn't enough to cover the entire area. So they're doing another batch. I'm not sure if that's coming anytime soon because of the pandemic and there aren't even students going to campus anymore. But I really think that, once a place finds out or, really understands the long-term benefits, then they'll be able to really get on board with PNVR. As for commercial complexes, we helped out with Tree and Towers, if that counts. A lot of villages as well, Kapon NCE being one of them, Isaiah Premier. My own village is also planning a TNR just next week because we found a community cats there. I think we personally don't. Okay, sorry, 1 second. We personally don't like. Oh my god. We personally don't keep a really good track record because there are just so many requests, and we're not really the type to laud about it. It's just wherever help is needed, that's where we go. Okay, yeah. So sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a slave to my own cats. I'm sure you guys all understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've just been all around the metro, basically.
Yeah, and it's good to know. It's actually good to know na, di ba, like UP was actually that initiative in UP was actually funded by the government.
Yeah,
It's so
that was
nice to hear that. It's so nice to hear that.
right,
And
right.
mas madami pa, di
Because
ba?
we also had a champion, like Joy said. We also had a champion. I wasn't really there for the negotiations. Again, Snip was just there for the catching, but we were provided the not only the protection, right? Because if there were like buildings and security guards and admins there who said, no, I don't want you to enter our premises, we have a letter that says we are mandated by the Chancellor of Community Affairs, etc., and we're going to enter your premises and we're going to catch your cats, right? So it's
Super
also
nice
it was
to hear.
it's nice. It really, again, collective effort. It really, everyone needs to be on board with it as much as possible.
We need our champions.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, let's proceed with the next question. This one is from Hannah, and I think so many other people here also want to ask this. How young can our pets or the strays undergo spay and neuter? Yun daw yung dilemma niya in case meron side effect ng early spaying. Joy, you wanna answer?
Okay. For me, in my opinion, no, kasi iba kasi yung case ng pets, your own pets na nasa loob ng house, who is not very vulnerable to multiplying, and iba rin yung mga strays or yung mga nasa labas, no. So, I think for those that are outside your house, hindi mo mapipigilan when they, when they are in heat, hindi mo sila makikage and all that. I think as early as, for us, yung sa cats, no, siguro before they have their first heat. So that's like 5 months, yung medyo pa-adult na kitten. Basta makita namin na healthy and kaya na niya and big enough, so we bring them na for spaying. But I think it's a different story if you're asking for pets, your own pets. Kasi yun, I mean, pwede mo siyang i-prevent to multiply. Like, you cage your pet, ganyan, wag mong papalabasin. So, I think that's a different story. Pero if you're asking for, Hannah, if you're asking for those that are outside the house, basta sa amin, if we find the cat, like, ito, malaki na to, malaking kuting na to, mag-hit na to next month, nako, unahan na natin. So, ganun namin siya tinitreat. So, because of course, we don't know naman how old na or how young the community cat or dog is. No? So, magbe-base na kami sa kanyang size. So, if the size is, kaya na nito i-handle and all that. Plus, the vet din naman will tell us, nako, maliit pa yan, hindi pa yan pwede. Or yan, pwede na yan. So, yeah. So, yun, that's what I think. But for the pets, for your own pets, siguro I would suggest like, kahit makaisang heat lang siya, para, pero wag mo papabundes. Make sure na your pet will not, get pregnant. Oo. Pero siguro pwede siya na paabutin mo ng adult, like 1-year-old maybe, para lang, to reach the development, full, development niya. So, yeah.
And also for first timers, I mean, like for those who are not that familiar dun sa mga behavior ng mga cats, how will they know if pahit na siya? Marami for sure yan hindi alam. And like, meron bang can they watch out on some mga para malaman nila kung pahit na yung cat?
Sa cat, no, ang na-experience ko lang, medyo maingay sila pag actually yung before heat, parang hindi mo siya masabi. But during, like, pag nag-heat na siya, maingay siya, meow siya ng meow, iyak siya, gusto niyang lumabas. Gusto nila maghanap ng meat. Gusto nilang umalis. And plus, if, for example, your female cat is not noisy or hindi parang sila, naglalande. So, rub sila ng rub sa feet, sa wherever. But if your cat doesn't show yung ganong signs, isa rin namin tinitignan is, yung mga male cats naman yung dayo ng dayo. Like, sila yung ganun kasi yung behavior ng cats na napansin namin. Even with yung kunyari, the stray ones, no? Kapag yung isang female cat, ang daming nakasurround sa kanya ng mga males, ano to, nag-hit to, hulihin natin yan kasi buntot ng buntot sa kanya yung isang male or isang tomcat na, well, to be honest, meron pa rin kasi mga male na cats dito na hindi pa kapon because yung, may iba kasi mahirap talaga hulihin yung mga feral talaga. But mapapansin namin yun na kapag yung isang female cat is not yet spayed, madalas kapag hit siya, sinusundan-sundan siya ng mga male. So, that's also a sign.
Ayun. So, since Joy answered like how young can they be spayed, we actually have another question here from Cam. Ano naman yung latest? What
Okay.
age pwede spay and neuter? Kira, you wanna answer?
Okay, yeah. If I can just jump in. Sorry, if I can go back to how young first. That's
Yeah.
actually, it seems like such a simple question, and I'd love to just give like an age, you know. But actually, it's a very heated topic. It's a very debated topic among vets because we go to a lot of vets, depending on their expertise, depending on what the rescue animal needs. And they don't give me the same number. And so what the general rule of thumb I can say is like what Joy said, don't really base it on the age since you can't really tell what their age is. Instead, base it on their size, or in our case, weight. So we weigh them. What we do is rule of thumb for males, if they are around 1 kilo and healthy looking, because they could be 1 kilo pero scrawny, or
Yeah.
1 kilo and super taba pero young pala. So
Yeah.
1 kilo and healthy, that should generally be enough. But
Mhm.
we've made it a habit of, if the cat looks a little bit young, we just send the picture to our vet. Doc, pwede na ba to? And they say yes or no, just wait a few weeks, ganun. They would know better than we would. Kasi they're the ones who assess. Even if I tell you, okay, pwede between 4 to 6 months, pwede na. And, you know, whoever's in this webinar hears me and goes to their own vet and the vet believes otherwise, yari ako, di ba? Kasi they'll quote me. So I can't really give you an answer. The vet that you go to, they're the ones you ask because they're the ones who are going to be comfortable spaying and neutering at that specific age or that specific state, right? Just be open na lang, communicate openly with your vet. As to the question, up to what age? That's a good question. I don't really have a number as well, but I know if you reach above around 4 years for cats and dogs, please correct me if anyone knows better. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pero around mga 4 years after that, it might be a little bit delicate already a situation to get them spayed and neutered. Because there are risks that come with the anesthesia. What if they're old and they don't wake up from it anymore? So it would be really best to get the animal spayed in between those states, between around 1 kilo and mga 4 years. Actually, my dog, so my dog is a good marker for when I started rescuing kasi the year I got her, the year someone gave her to me as a gift was the year I started rescuing. She's a golden retriever. And of course, I don't really advocate for breeding anymore, but oh my gosh! Sorry, my cat is eating a thumbnail. A thumbtack. Okay, sorry. Ah, this is the menace of our batch. I'm so sorry. Okay, so my dog is 11 years old already, which means that I started rescuing 11 years ago because the year I told my family that I wanted to start rescuing was the year they purchased a dog for me, right? But you know, she's an amazing dog. I love her so much, and she's a great foster sister to all the rescues that I have. She's very good with other dogs. She's very good with cats and even kittens, right? But when she was 4 years old, she actually got an emergency spaying due to pyometra, right? Because I didn't know anything about spay and neuter. I didn't know about Kapon. And at 4 years old, because she didn't get the chance to mate, her uterus kind of uh it became infected or something. It was
Like
just, you know, enlarged. I know it's enlarged, but I don't know why. But it was really big, and they had to remove the entire thing because nga she wasn't mated at an age before that. So you really have to spay and neuter them before that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that that's not
Reminder.
as yeah, it's not as critical a question if
Yeah.
you're doing TNR compared to how young they are. So
Yeah.
there actually have been times where I'd bring a young-ish cat to the vet and they say, okay, she seems a little bit too young. And I say, Doc, this is Kapon. This is for TNR. If I let this cat go, I might not be able to get her again. And they'll take a second look and they'll say, okay, actually, this is okay. We just have to be extra careful with the surgery. These are the extra medicines you give her. But you just find a way to reach your goal, which is to, manage the stray population. So
Right.
basically, keep an open communication line with your vet. They would know
That,
best.
yeah, I think yun yung pinaka bottom line. At the end of the day, the vets know better. 'Di ba? It's always a
True.
case basis. Kahit 2 years old pa yan and all pagdating sa vet, kung hindi pa na healthy, so hindi pa naman siya ready for kapon. So always a
Right.
case basis. And then, wait, we have another question here. Well, questions from Doc Elsie and Anne. So they're also volunteers of Pawssion Project. May I know what are the usual challenges faced when it's TNR or TNVR for dogs? Usual challenges.
Right. Right. Good
Okay.
question kasi mostly cats, no?
Yeah, but I think Joy also discussed na earlier then some of the challenges that they face and we can totally relate to them. But yeah, you might wanna emphasize lang kung ano yung pinaka-usual na challenge for the
Well,
first time.
yeah, let me share for dogs. Well, if you want to know the challenges specific to dogs, first, well, kaya rin siguro 2 dogs pa lang yung nadadala namin for TNVR because it's more difficult to bring dogs. Kasi una, ang laki nila, mahirap silang hulihin. Plus, if you do not know the dogs, kunyari, community dog, stray dog siya, matatakot ka rin eh. Like, to be honest, matatakot ka. Kung hindi ka expert na rescuer, hindi ka expert manghuli, matatakot ka. So, like, here, for example, no, there, sa village namin, meron actually dog na matagal nang tinatanong kung kanino ba yun, walang may-ari and all that. Gusto namin yun ipakapon ni Aldin. But the problem is, ang hirap niyang hulihin. Malaki yung cage na kailangan mo to get the dog, to transport the dog, no? And plus, like the cats, kailangan mo din siyang i-foster after. So, sige, fine. Mahuli namin sila through the help of S.N.I.P. Kayang-kaya nila Kira yun. But, paano pag after? Pag uwi na from the clinic, sino magpo-foster, diba? Parang ganun siya eh. That's the problem. That's the challenge. Parang, kung walang mag-step up to foster, may hirapan kaming kunin siya for kapon. Kasi hindi naman pwede na we get the dog and then, sige, okay na yan, pakawalan na yan ulit. No, it's also a responsibility. Pag na-infect yun, nagkasakit yun, problema din naman, huhulihin na naman namin siya and all that. So, I think that's the biggest challenge for TNVR of dogs, the fostering, the post-op. Lalo na pag hindi mabait yung dog. Siguro kung yung dog is friendly or talagang pinapakain mo, maamo sa'yo, baka medyo mas madali yun.
Yeah.
So that's for
always is yung post-op. So, reminder talaga dun sa mga first-timers and yung mga gustong gawin to, please remember doesn't end with yung pagkapon. You have to make sure na okay na lahat, yung surgery, natapos na yung mga gamot before
Yes.
you release them. Kasi baka napakapon nyo nga, meron na naman sila after.
Yes, just to share, just a little, actually, meron kaming cases na gano'n eh, na parang kunyari, few days after kapon, minsan si Alvin makakapansin, Joy, si Rosana. Well, kasi lahat ng pinapakpo namin, binibigyan namin ng names eh. So, lahat ng tiniti-NVR namin may name. So, sabi na, si ganito, mayroong sakit, parang matamlay siya, ganyan. So, yung post-op, yung fostering, hindi pa actually nga dun matatapos eh. Kasi kung nandyan lang yung mga cats na tini-NVR mo, at the end of the day, pag masama pakiramdam niyan or not looking good or tingin mo may mali or nagbukas yung tahi, kukunin mo ulit yan, you will get the cat and bring him to the vet again.
Right,
So,
right.
hindi pa
So
talaga
post-op care is also an investment, right? It's a worthy investment
Yeah.
kasi, if they have complications in the future kasi you didn't give them the medication, then most likely you're going to have a problem in the near future. And I agree with what Joy said na dogs are particularly resource intensive. So whatever you have to shell out for cats, dogs, number one, they're not as comfortable in enclosed spaces. Diba cats they like boxes, they like hiding. Dogs are not like that. So their cages are sorry. Their cages are definitely bigger because of not only their size, but they really need more space to be not as stressed, and their surgery will cost more because of course it's gonna cost more stitching, it's gonna cost more medication, and it's gonna be more time consuming for the vet. It's gonna cost more. The post-ops will cost more also because the medicine, you'll need more medicine to give. Right. So we haven't had a lot of experience doing TNR for dogs, but we have had experience catching dogs, and it has also been more difficult, definitely. It's a whole other world learning how to catch dogs compared to how to catch cats. So I actually, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I actually used to be a dog person. I knew all about dogs, and I didn't even know how to pet a cat. But once you get used kasi to the psychology of cats, it's very difficult to kind of like switch, make the switch. So like sometimes I treat my dog now like a cat because I'm so used to dealing with cats. I don't know how to deal with dogs anymore. So what I can say is um dogs are it's a really different mechanism for catching them. This one you can't use traps because there are no traps that are big enough unless you make one on your own. Catch poles won't work either because if there's a catch pole that's too big for to like the size of a dog, it's too heavy. You can't hold it. So what we use are really leashes, and cages, right? So that can be a whole other webinar, but basically it's more difficult to TNR dogs. But thank goodness there are not as many dogs as there are cats, for sure. So I guess nature balances.
Yung mga hindi cat people here now watching us, can you emphasize them again? How many times ba yung mga female na cats magbuntis in a year? Emphasize lang natin sa kanila.
Right. So cats, I think by 4 months old they can start being in heat na, no? And once they're in heat, that means they can already get impregnated. And they only take 2 months, tama, to give birth. So if you do the math, let's say one
How
mama
many
cat.
times a year na pagbubuntis?
Oh my goodness, just dozens more than you should be able to count. So if you have one mama cat that gives birth to a litter of, let's say, five is even being somewhat conservative. They can get as much as 7 or 9. So let's say 5. In 4 months, those kittens can already be in heat. Let's say they give birth. So in 6 months, you will have 5 times 5, right? And then after 6 months, another times 5. It's exponential growth. And I think between cats and dogs, cats are even more reproductively efficient, no? Than dogs, for sure. So
And FYI to everyone, yung mga cats, because I noticed this, yung mga sa mga regular strays ko na hindi ko pa napapakapon, kahit na nagpapadede pa sila, while they're still feeding their kittens, nabubuntis na sila. That's how quick talaga nabubuntis yung mga pusa. And that is also why we agreed on focusing talaga on cats. Especially for the first webinar. Kasi there have been so many talks about dogs, but hindi masyado nabibigyan pansin yung mga pusa when they're actually the major contributor to the stray population kasi sobrang dami talaga yung mga cats around.
And if I may, if I may, also yung animal cruelty, sobrang dali kasi saktan ng cats eh. First kasi ang liit nila. 'Di ba? Ang dali sipain lang sila diyan, paluin sila diyan or pellet gun sila diyan. Ang dali eh. So, that's why it's also important, no, na to note na kaya rin maraming initiative on TNVR sa cats is because we want to prevent this from happening, tong cruelty to them. Kasi meron talagang mga tao na, wala na silang magawa sa buhay nila, but gusto lang nilang saktan yung mga cats kasi like, ang daming cats dito sa amin, ganyan. Pagtripan ko nga to or what, saktan ko sila. So,
And they can enter people's premises, di ba?
Yeah.
Unlike dogs. And so people will be more, irritated. Oh, why are you outside my window? Why are you on the roof?
That's
They're more
right.
prone to being
And
abused.
unlike dogs, syempre yung mga tao, they're more scared of dogs eh. Ang laki nito, baka kagatin ako and all that. But sa cats, liit niyan eh. Sipain ko lang yan eh. Diba? They're like that. So, they're very vulnerable to cruelty.
Also getting run over, right? Or when they go up cars,
Yes.
they can get stuck in the engine or the wheel. So
That's
poor
right.
cats, just kapon them.
Yes. Maybe we can choose at least 2 more questions before we end this. Kasi for sure, no, kaya natin to kahit 1 year na nag-uusap lang tayo about this one. But yeah, let's pick 2 more questions before we end this. I'd like to read itong question ni Anne. Again, she's also one of our volunteers and she's doing TNVR. She wants to ask if ano yung difference ng normal na pet cage or carrier from the trapping cage. And I think so many also are interested to know more about this. Kira, can you tell us about it very quickly lang?
Okay, so a trapping cage is literally designed to trap cats. It's not definitely as comfortable compared to normal transport or holding cages. Um, we don't have like a way to draw this now, but it's elongated, right? So on one end, you have a trapping mechanism. It's sort of like a door that's propped up when you set it, and then you put the food in the other end. So the cat enters from the trap door all the way to the end, and once he reaches the end, there's a little parang pedal that once they step on, magka-close siya, right? So it's elongated and it's quite narrow because it's easier to transport that way.
Yeah.
Therefore, it looks very different from a normal pet cage. But I've had experiences
Here,
there.
here.
Exactly what I said. So I'm not sure if you could find in the Philippines, but ours is imported talaga. And we got the not overly durable ones. You can get ones from the States for like 3K up. But since, we need a lot of them, we got ones that are made from China and they're not as durable. So we try to take good care of them man lang. Because we just need a lot. So
Yeah.
I have been a part of TNRs before we got these trapping cages. So what we would do is we would have a carrier with the door open, and there is actually a string tied to the cage of the door, and then you put food inside, right?
Yeah.
And then when the cat enters, you just pull it closed and pray, because if the cat is strong enough, that cat will try to push out, and it's
Yeah.
really not as successful as a trapping cage, but it could work with some practice. Like for example, you have to put it in a place where you can hide, like right behind a tree or a wall, kasi as soon as it closes, someone has to rush in and secure it talaga. Otherwise, that cat is going to push out.
Yeah.
Right? You also have to get the cat used to a cage, a carrier. So let's say if you're going to do a feeding program, you put the carrier there lang, or you start feeding them inside the carrier without closing it.
Yeah.
Diba? Those are all mechanisms that you have to do the due diligence in order for it to work.
Yeah.
Or you can just invest in a trapping cage.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But there are ways. There's a way.
Yeah. Okay, sige. Let's go to the last question. And I think ito talaga question ng lahat-lahat na concern. Magkano ba? Can you briefly just discuss how much will it cost to spay and successfully do TNVR? Let's say for one head, one cat. How much does it cost? Kasama na dun yung post-op, medicines, everything.
Okay. Do you want Joy to share your experience?
Okay, for us, well, first, let me emphasize, no, we have a partner clinic. So we have a special rate from this clinic kasi they know na we do TNVR in the community. So it's not personal na pets, but the community cat. So to just the ballpark for male, it's a little bit less expensive. So the actual procedure around, let's say sa male around 650, 700 ganyan.
For the
Sa
Kapon
female,
alone, 650 to 700 for Kapon alone.
yes, for Kapon alone. And then for female around for female around 800, ganun. Kasi baka nag-increase na sila eh. So I don't, pero ganun lang siya nag-range. So mas mura ng konti ang males. But of course, you have to buy pa the medicine. So
Medicine.
sa amin, sa vet namin, no, they give us yung antibiotics. The injectable kasi is free. Kasama na siya doon sa binabayaran namin. But we have to continue it with oral antibiotics. So siguro isang bote is around 300, 350. Pero for enough na yun for the cats kasi especially kung maliliit lang naman sila. Plus, the antibiotics, mostly for females lang naman siya nire-recommend. Kasi nga for males, it's very, very small. The sugat is sobrang liit lang talaga.
Injectable, okay na yon.
Oh, yes. The injectable, okay na sa kanila yon. No need for oral. For the females, so bibili kami nun. Plus, they also give us the pain reliever para lang, meron kasing ibang cats, especially the females, mas sila malalaman mo pag in pain sila, they won't eat, hindi sila masyadong gumagalaw sa cage. So we give them. So siguro mga around ganun din, 350 rin for a bottle. So
total for male and female is around how much?
Siguro let's say per head, for female, let's say it's 1,500. For male, ready 1,000. For the female pala, they will require us pa to buy a collar. Hindi naman siya, kami, ang ginawa kasi namin, we bought na before, tapos paulit-ulit na lang namin ginagamit yun. It's a protection also para hindi kagatin, hindi ngat-ngatin ng cat yung tahi niya, especially the female. So, around ganun, 1,500. You ready around 1,500 for a female cat and 1,000 for a male.
1,000 for male cats and then 1,500 for female cats. That's dun sa kanila ni Joy. And again, guys, this is a case-to-case basis.
Yes.
Depende pa rin kung magkano yung i-charge ng vet. So if you can find the vet na mas mura yung i-charge, then go ahead and maybe try to talk to that vet and ask if they can accommodate more. Diba? Spread the word. Let's encourage more vet clinics and vets to offer low cost. Kasi yun nga, case-to-case basis siya. Kaya mas mura yung cats kasi mas konti naman yung ginagamit.
The anesthesia.
Yung kasi yung binabayaran nila just so people understand kung bakit mas mura yung pusa, bakit mas mahal yung dog. So, yun yung explanation. How about sa inyo, Kira? How much?
Okay, so I'd like to plug in rin our partner vet, which is PPBCC in Mandaluyong. It's conveniently near us, and I like to say that they also give us a special rate because, I mean, you can imagine how many cats and dogs we've been bringing there already. So I do stay in close coordination with them. They're very open because they also have, the advocacy of TNR, right? So I call them up and I tell them, I'm bringing a truckload of cats. Please prepare on this specific date. So we coordinate. But their standard rate is 600 for male cats, 700 for female cats. And then I think you have an optional long-acting antibiotic of 350, right? So we don't always avail of the antibiotic for males because, like as Joy said, there are a lot of vets who say that you can actually release them kaagad for males kasi, the incision is so small, it's so minor. Sometimes as soon as they reach our home from the vet, okay na sila. It's like nothing ever happened. So, but rule of thumb, of course, you keep them at least overnight. Okay, 2 to 3 days would be best. Okay, so aside from the long-acting antibiotic, which is injectable of 350, Sometimes they're also prescribed medicines or pain relievers, especially for cats who are spay aborted, which amount to 300 to 500, right? So you can do the math if it's around 350 and then 300, 600, 700, around 1.3 to 1.5 rin, just like what Joy said. But I have to emphasize that what you have to prepare is not only monetary costs, but also like if you're going to look for a place to keep them
Yeah.
post-op, you might have to find a foster place and you might have to give them, let's say, a stipend in order for them to accept that number of cats, right? You
Yeah.
have to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Also, for the cages, let's say it does cost for you to clean the cages. You know, if they're going to stay there for how many days, how many weeks, it costs water, it costs time. And
Mhm.
it'll also cost you, of course, cat food, right? Because you're definitely going to have to feed them, right, while they stay with you. So
Mhm.
these monetary as well as resource costs are things that you have to account for. And of course, the more cats that you TNR in one go, the cheaper it's going to be because you're sharing the resources.
That's right.
Yeah.
And how soon? How soon can they feed pala the cats? Kasi diba, you're gonna keep them pa, you're gonna foster them post-surgery. How soon? Kasi for sure maraming nagtatanong din, lalo na mga first-timers. How soon
Right.
can you give them water and feed them after the surgery?
Right. The do you want to answer,
Yes.
or I'll just okay.
Yes.
So what we usually do is if we get them back from the vet, we feed them around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. na. So you can give it around 8 hours.
Surgery was done around what time?
It really depends on them. That's why I would give it around fasting for 8 hours after the surgery. After
Mm-hmm.
the surgery, and not like when you drop them off in the morning and they get surgery like in the afternoon and you feed them when they get home. Um, that's a rule of thumb, but basically you have to monitor how they wake up because
Mm-hmm.
there are some cats that wake up kaagad and they're already hungry and they're alert. But there
That's
are
right.
also cats that take a really long time to get out of the grogginess. And
Yeah.
the reason you're trying to fast them after the surgery, even though they're obviously hungry because they haven't eaten in how long, they were fasted before the surgery, you don't want them to choke on the food and the water that you give them.
That's
Because
right.
let's say it's been 8 hours, you followed what I said, but they're actually pretty groggy, and you
Yeah.
give them food or water, they might accidentally fall asleep in their water bowl and drown,
That's
or while eating, they fall asleep and they choke on it, right?
that's
So
right.
we really want to avoid that. Make sure they're alert, make sure they're awake. Before you release them, you have to make sure that they can walk straight, and they're agile. Kasi my gosh, there have been times when we released them too early. This was years ago. We released them too early. They fell asleep behind the car and the car ran over him. So we really want to avoid all kinds of casualties because they're not as agile, as active as they are. Avoid
Yeah.
all of that. Make sure they're alert and awake before feeding them and releasing them.
Yeah.
Even
Super
water.
super duper helpful information. Kasi I'm sure sobrang dami na nanonood na they wanna do that. So I think those things are very, very vital sa mga
Mhm.
gusto mo para hindi masayang lahat ng efforts. Imagine, di ba, you caught them already, tapos gumastos ka na lahat, tapos post-op, biglang nire
Exactly.
So I really feel like those are very important questions. And siguro last na lang before we end this. Can you tell them, like, ano yung usual na ginagawa ng mga vets ninyo to mark? Kasi it's very important, diba, when you do TNVR, dapat naman mark sila. And then that's how people will know that these cats, community cats na sila. They're safe here because they've already been vaccinated, they've been neutered already, just so people will know, yung mga hindi pa alam na, kasi if it's your pet, normally hindi naman minamark, diba? Because that's your own. I'm sure so many people are curious about that. Sometimes kasi there are those going to the shelters, nagtataka sila bakit yung ibang mga rescues na-cut na yung ear or yung iba meron nakikita ng mga letters. Can you tell us about that? Like, what do your vets do sa mga TPNVR ninyo to mark them?
Okay.
Um,
Okay, for the NCE na lang muna, no? For the NCE cats, we ask talaga our vets to put an ear notch. Kasi since they're community cats, medyo mahirap kasi makita if we just put a tattoo. Sa iba, they put the letter S for spayed. I think for the male cats, hindi siya masyadong, hindi siya masyadong kailangan the tattoo kung ayaw mo ng ear notch, no? Kasi nga, they have you can see naman na wala ng balls. Unlike the female, kailangan talaga, meron kang, yeah, pag females, kasi kailangan meron kang mark, no? But for the NCE cats, we asked the vet to do a ear notch. Maliit lang naman. So, marami rin kasing may ayaw nun. But for those na ayaw nun, you can put an S. But if these are community cats and kailangan makita ka agad, no? Hindi yung kailangan hawakan mo pa siya just to know if kapon or not. So, I would suggest na, yeah, and it's also a universal sign for spay and neuter naman.
And don't worry guys, it's not a form of animal cruelty kasi
Yes.
pag
yeah, sabi rin, tinanong ko yan actually sa vet, no? And the vet said, wala naman din daw talagang pakiramdam halos that part of the ear. Ganon. So, hindi naman sila masasaktan talaga.
Yeah.
And it's also for their own safety. Kasi mahirap naman, especially like, for example, female, you get hurt twice, and twice siyang bubuksan dahil wala siyang mark. So, dalawang beses siyang bubuksan because hindi alam na spayed na pala.
Yeah.
Right.
How about you, Kira?
So actually, our partner vet mandates that they be notched. Kasi nga, it's a low cost Kapon clinic, and so they don't want to have to go through the situation wherein, like what Joy said, they open them up and they're kapon na pala, tapos wala silang notch. So just to avoid that, they really mandate either notching or tattooing. And like what Joy said, we always go for notching, the snipping of the ear, kasi it's much more visible, right? It's much easier to see. And from our experience, when we had them tattooed, it actually fades over time. And it smudges, so it might look like just like a black marking, right? And you don't want to go through that. You don't want to catch them and make them go through the process again, and you don't want to go through the process again, right? So we do advocate to have them snip talaga. That's why we're called snip for a reason.
Yeah. So, thank you very much. I think if hayaan lang natin, abutin tayo talaga ng next week, di ba? Sa usapang to. It's been more than 2 hours already, but so many learnings from tonight. And I'm sure marami pa dito talaga gusto din makipag-partner with you guys. So, I also just want everyone to understand that we, again, are just volunteers here. We keep regular jobs. So as much as we want to accommodate all your requests, depende din po sa availability ng lahat. We cannot always just go there. Depende din if the resources are enough. So make sure that when you coordinate with Kapon NCE, with Pawssion Project, with S.N.I.P, make sure as much as possible meron na kayong standby na fosterers. Make sure that you are very much willing na i-continue yung mga kailangan post-surgery kasi sayang all the efforts. So, I hope that the webinar was very, very helpful sa lahat. We promise that we'll work together hand in hand and we'll partner with more organizations and maybe we can come up with the starter pack, the starter kit for those who want to do TNVR. Let's prepare that MO1 template for everybody. Maybe we can have, we can pool our resources together and just advise everyone if meron na talagang mga group of people na gusto mag-TNVR and can advise them kung saan pa yung mga partner vets. If you know, if we have vets watching us right now, and if you can offer low-cost na Kapon, maybe you can coordinate with Pawssion Project, with Kapon NCE, and with S.N.I.P so that we can consolidate. I remember Kira actually has a consolidated list of clinics na nag-offer ng low-cost. So,
Yeah.
we include the link in the comment section after this webinar, or we can also do another PubMat for that. Let's inspire more vets, let's inspire more clinics to offer low cost na Kapon kasi remember, we're doing this hindi to para sa pets natin, we're doing this for the community, so we really hope mas madami pang mag-participate dun sa low cost na rate kasi mahal talaga yung Kapon. So let's bring back Ish. Um, but really, guys, in behalf of Pawssion Project and everyone watching, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. Super helpful. And I hope marami dito na gustong mag-start, mag-initiate na ng kapon sa mga communities nila. Again, thank you dun sa homeowners talaga nila ni Joy. Baka may mga available pa dyan na mga bahay. Pwede na tayo lumipat. So, okay, we have Ish back.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so thank you, Joy, Kira, and Malu. Yep, I think sobrang daming napag-usapan, sobrang daming good questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should be, yun na din naman. So we want to really thank you, Joy and Kira, for taking the time to really answer, yun nga, magsagot ng questions and mabahagi nyo lang yung nalalaman nyo about the topic. So, yeah.
Before we let them go, Ish,
Yep.
let's ask them to promote their pages again.
Yep.
If you guys want to partner with them, if you want to work with them, if you want to sponsor their initiatives, go ahead, Kira and Joy, and
Yep.
promote your pages.
So our Facebook page is S.N.I.P Philippines, Spay-Neuter-Inform Project, or the link is fb.com/snip.philippines. So you can check out the stuff that we do. We're honestly not that active in posting because we really just get it done. That's kind of like our philosophy. We're not super ma PR or ma social media, but rest assured that we really do. Snip.Philippines. Just rest assured that we really do as much TNR as we can, and we get a lot of daily questions on help, people asking for help in TNR, and as much as we try to answer all of them, it's really difficult because we both have like full-time jobs, and um, it took a lot actually for me to take the time for this webinar because I have a lot of pending things, but this really means so much to me. And so I hope that those who are, asking for help will be a little bit patient so we can get back to you, because we have like a lineup of how many TNRs once this ECQ is over. And we're doing our best to, stay on top of all of it. I'd like to plug that we are still trying to gather donations for a truck that we mean to buy. It's like a miniature truck. It's really small, and we had it refurbished to be adequate for caged cats and dogs inside. So there's like a lot of ventilation, there's a fan, etc. And we want to use it to scale up our TNR project. So if we started with 5 cats, now we're doing around 20 cats. But this truck can hold up to 60 cats. So we're really excited to get this started. If you can donate for a S.N.I.P truck, we'd be so grateful. And it's definitely going to give back to the community.
That's right.
That's it. Please follow our page. And message us if you have any questions at all regarding TNR. We do our best to reply.
Thank you, Kira. Joy?
Thank you, Malu.
Yes. Yes. Okay. For Kapon NCE Cats, our page is in Facebook, no? So it's facebook.com/Kapon NCE Cats. So please feel free to message us should you have any questions, or or if you want to help as well or donate to our munting project here in the village. Please. So that would mean a lot to us. So yes. Also, I'd like to thank Malu and Ish, for inviting us over. It means a lot for us to be able to share our experience, yung mga what we do, and hopefully kahit pa paano, meron ako na-inspire na viewers, at least audience na, again, I'd like to emphasize, just start it. Whatever it is that you're planning to do to have the cats or the dogs in your community, just start it. It's not important how many. So kahit isa lang muna, it's okay. As long as you start it. And then it will follow na lang.
That's right. Just do it.
Yeah,
True. Honestly, it's domino effect yan eh. I've had people who said they don't.
And it's so addicting. That's why
it's addicting. Exactly. You start with one, you
Diba? They're,
realize, wow, I can do it pala. Next thing you know, 5 at a time na
yes,
yan. Mas marami na
yes,
yan.
that's right.
Also, sorry, no, to plug. We also post our adoptables in our page. Kasi
Ayun.
again, we also still that's the ultimate goal, to have the cats adopted and have families of their own, kung saan sila mas maaalagaan and all. So meron mga NCE cats na we feel na ito adoptable. So please, we post them on our page. If you're interested or you know someone, yeah, feel free to to message us lang. Yes, adopt, don't shop. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, guys, follow S.N.I.P and Kapon NCE on Facebook. If you have any other concerns or if you wanna help spread the word, this webinar will still be up on our Facebook page. I'm pretty sure Joy and Kira is gonna share it also on their personal pages. It's also gonna be up on YouTube. So, pwede niyo siyang balik-balikan kung may mga na-miss kayo or late kayo sa webinar. So many informative talaga na mga na-share tonight. So, Kira and Joy, thank you very much. You guys have no idea how grateful we are for your time. Imagine more than 2 hours of talking about TNDR. Again, that's just for cats. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
inviting
you.
us. It's such a joy to be able to talk about something that we love to do, you know. If I could make this my job and do it 24/7, I would just up and
right?
leave.
Right? We're all in this together anyway. So, guys,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Have a
Yep.
good night.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good
We'll let you
night.
go.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Joy, and
Bye,
thanks, Kira.
Kira.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Yan. Ay, na. So I'm back. Hi, Malu. But yeah, I'm very happy at least nakabalik ako to close the webinar with you. But ayun, like talagang yung schedule natin talagang 1 hour lang dapat. Pero talagang hearing from Kira and Joy, sobrang dami nilang share talaga. And I mean, ako din nakikinig din ako, moderator ako, but I'm also learning.
Imagine, everyone stayed. I mean, like, so many
Yeah.
people stayed up until the end of the webinar. Very engaging also the topic and
Yep.
very active yung mga tao. So thank you guys for spending
Thank you.
your Sunday evening with us. But yeah, I think before we end, Ish, we have giveaways.
Yeah. So, syempre, to announce to everyone, hindi ko sure if nakita nyo na po yung post namin kanina, but we have an ongoing raffle for a cause. So, yung mechanics po is nakapin sa aming Facebook page. So, if punta kayo diretso sa page ni Pawssion Project, makita nyo siya agad. Kaka-start lang niya today. It's going to be a week-long raffle for a cause event. 50 pesos lang po. Meron na po kayong entry dun sa raffle namin, and we are giving away almost over 20,000 worth of giveaways. So, meron po kami from our sponsors, from Krispy Kreme, from Jamba Juice, and from Zalora. Lahat po yan pwede nyo mapanalunan, and you only 50 pesos lang po. Pwede na po kayong makasali, and one entry na po yun. And syempre, the more that entries you submit, mas marami po kayong chance na manalo. So hopefully we can have everyone participate. It's going to be a week-long raffle, and we will announce po yung winner sa last day po ng event namin during the benefit concert. So really, very excited po, and yeah, to have everyone join us during this raffle. And then I think i-announce na rin natin yung winners for the webinar sharing. So it's the start nung
Mumunting gift namin sa mga stay.
So thank you din nga, sinabi po namin sa lahat po na mag-share nung live. Gusto lang po namin kayong pasalamatan kasi tinulungan nyo kaming ma-share lang po yung gusto namin mabahagi ngayon. So ang
goal naman kasi talaga of Pawssion Project is to help spread awareness and inspire more people. Kasi we cannot be everywhere. Yun nga, ito si Ish, nasa Germany pa siya ngayon, pero todo lang, she's still with us right now. So, yun. Sige, Ish, I think we're ready to announce the winners. Yung mga nag-help share ng webinar.
I think, tinitingnan ko yung, mali pala na naman yung information ko. I'm sorry. Ito pala yung winners from yesterday. From yesterday pala siya. I'm very sorry for yung maling information, but ito yung winners natin from yesterday. So yung people na nag-share nung kick-off event natin. So congratulations to everyone who shared our event yesterday. I medyo malabo lang siya sa akin, pero it's
Yeah, I see Jean. I cannot fully read the name, but it's Jean Diaz. And then we also have Hope for Pause, the Pitan, and Sir Gian Michael. Sir Gian, super active. I've always seen his comments all throughout the webinar. So congratulations. Our volunteers will get in touch with you. And I hope that you guys can continue to join us up until Friday. The concert is on Saturday. Congratulations. We also have more. Go Ish. Can you read it?
Yep. So congratulations also to Fur Mom. So we'll send you a message. Sayang hindi namin nakita yung full name mo, but congratulations. Thank you for sharing our live. And also, Kathy, thank you so much for sharing our live yesterday and sharing your own, yun nga, sharing yung sagot mo dun sa questions namin. But thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. Ish, do we have the list now of those who won tonight?
Tonight wala pa. So I think tomorrow naman natin siya we're going yung volunteers na natin will be handling. Yeah, just we'll get in touch.
Manood pa sila ulit, di ba?
Yes. Bukas yan i-announce. So I think to segue din, like I think to finally end, syempre we also want to invite everyone to join us again tomorrow. Tomorrow naman we will be as we said, it's going to be a daily webinar series for the whole week. So today we did caring for community cats, and again we then want to invite everyone to join us tomorrow. This time for the importance of responsible rescuing. So yung sinabi ni Malu kanina, it's a whole process, and tapos na tayo with yung ano yung magagawa natin as a community. Yung second step naman is when it comes to responsible rescuing. So for this webinar, we have invited 4 guest speakers. Si Lara's Ark, si Bark Mission, si Cats of Antipolo, and si Pierre's Pet Camp. So andun po sila to ma-share lang po nila yung sarili nilang experience when it comes to rescuing. So hopefully makita namin kayo tomorrow again for this webinar naman. So
yay!
I think that's it from me, Malu.
Oo, kapit lang till the end of the webinar kasi series talaga. Parang it's our journey. It's our journey from starting sa strays, and then go on to responsible rescuing. So we'll be talking again yung mga guests natin, may mga shelters and may mga rescues na kanila. And then yun, up until the end, yung lahat-lahat na. So we'll invite some more guests para talaga, yung goal of Pawssion Project. It's really to unite everyone and to have like one big loud voice for the animals. Kaya yun, please kapit lang. Join us every night sa webinar natin. Do you have anything more? Any other reminders before we close?
Wala na rin. So I think so for me, Malu, that really ends tonight's webinar on caring for community cats. We hope to get everyone's support for the rest of our festivities for this week. And don't forget to tag us on Facebook and Instagram. And thank you again, Malu. Hashtag Pawssion IHAD 2021. So please share lahat ng mga natutunan nyo. We love seeing yung mga comments nyo, yung mga webinars. And then, that's everything from me, Malu.
Don't forget, donate project. We are only able to do all of these initiatives and programs through your help. If you want us to be able to do more, please support our programs and our projects. We cannot emphasize enough na collective effort talaga. Kahit 10, 20 pesos lang yan kung lahat-lahat ng mga followers ng Pawssion Project will donate. Same as dun sa mga followers ng Kapon NCE and S.N.I.P. It cannot end with just sa awa lang. Let's all pool our resources together. Let's donate for those initiatives para mas madami pa po yung matulungan natin. So, yun guys, that wraps up our first webinar for the week. Ish, thank you very much.
No, thank you, Malu. Tomorrow ulit.
To all of the volunteers volunteers. Thank you to everyone who's helped us, na magawa natin to yung webinar, even with just a short period of time na preparation. My heartfelt thanks really to all the volunteers of Pawssion Project. Thank you to all of our followers and everyone who has, followed our journey. Lahat din ng mga nagko-comment tonight. Please share this webinar. Sobrang dami talaga na mga important points na na-tackle tonight. So tag also your fellow rescuers, fellow animal advocates. Tag them sa webinar na to and tell them na you watch this. Kasi sobrang talagang magagandang points na na-share si Kira and si Joy. So, yun, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Ish, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Malu. So, we'll see everyone again tomorrow and hopefully, we continue with our webinar series. So, thank you, everyone. I wish you all good night, Jan. Good night, Jan. So, okay.
Bye.
Bye.
There's just so much we can learn from the stray animals. I can say it again and again, just how these animals actually save my life every day. I've heard so many beautiful stories of people na nasave sila dahil sa mga alaga nila. And I can only hope that more people will be able to experience that genuine love from animals.